Okay, thanks. Okay. So, meeting starts 7:03. Alright, our agendas, everyone have a copy of the agenda? Should be in your emails, I didn't print them all out. Any changes, discussion on the agenda? Newfield? Okay. I'm not sure if have you been here, Tom, before? Oh, you have? Oh my gosh, I am so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's been since April 5th, and
I'm
I
really
think when
bad
we did
at
virtual,
names.
right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for making me feel better. Okay. All right. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. Kenny. I'll take a second. Shannon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Abstain? Okay. Passes. Minutes. So we have 2 minutes to approve. The one from April 5th. So we did not approve it at our special meeting on the 19th. And then the May 19th. So let's do one and the other. I don't have copies of those either. So you should have them in your emails. Hopefully you'll have a chance to review them. If you need some time to look them up, I'll give you that time. Anyone need to look them up?
I'll take the 2 minutes.
Okay. Yep. Go ahead. We'll do April 5th first. I know. What do we do without Lisa? She usually has everything else ready for us. We're so spoiled. While you guys are doing that, I will just go around the table since the camera can't catch everyone who's in the room, and Lisa will need to know. As far as attendees, we have Jack, we have Heather, Jessica, Blaze, Matt, myself, Shannon, Ken, Cleland, John, Ken Jackson, Tom DeMauro. Got that? I say that right? DeMauro. And Joe Collada. Okay. That's it. That's the only people. No one from town council. No one from the Board of Ed. No one from the town. There's a chorus concert tonight? Yeah. Oh, that's why. They're all there. I'm sure of it. Okay. All right. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'll take a motion to approve the April 5th. Shannon. Ken. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay. April 5th is approved. And then the May 19th one, I'll take a motion to approve. Ken. And thank you, Ken. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay. Shannon abstains. Okay. That one's approved. No public here, so any submissions?
No submissions.
Okay. Moving right along. All right, I have a really short update. In case anyone has not heard, the state has approved their request for the additional 10% reimbursement rate. So now we have, yay! That's a huge win for Cromwell. That means our percentage goes from 39.68 to 49.68, I think, somewhere around there. 64, maybe 0.64.
39.64 to 49.
Yeah. So that's a 10% hike. That's a lot. I did want to say, Jack, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention last year. I kind of felt like it was going to be a pipe dream when we first talked about it, just the way our luck was going. But you and Emily also I know you did a lot of work back and forth with OSCGR and everyone at the state, and put a lot of time, and for those of you who are unaware, they basically ran a marathon this weekend trying to get all this documentation in with the state so they can approve it on Monday and get it into the bill on Tuesday. So really appreciate all the extra work you put in this weekend to get that all prepared for them. I know it wasn't easy. And, also special thanks to our legislators, Representative Carpino and Senator Lesser, who also were heavily involved in trying to make this work for Cromwell. So it is a huge win for Cromwell, especially coming off of our referendum where we had to ask for the additional $14 million. This extra 10% definitely goes a long way to helping kind of, lessen that burden for the town.
Well, it's 10 percentage points on your reimbursement rate, but going from 40 to 50% roughly means you're getting 25% more reimbursement than you were to start with.
Right, exactly.
So you look at it that way, it's even sweeter victory.
That's true. I like that. Good point. So this is just really good, amazing news. And then it's for the middle school, and then it's also applicable to central office as well. So that was fantastic. I'm still kind of on cloud nine over that information because it's just kind of lessens the the burden.
Yeah, it also means, right, when we did the referendum for the additional 13 or so million, when we said what the town share would be, that was roughly going to be about 8 million. Now, incrementally, all in, now it should only be
Right.
about million and a half.
Right. Yeah.
Very-
Assuming.
very small, assuming nothing else changes.
Right. That's
Yeah.
assuming we spend all the
So
72.6
that
million.
puts in perspective for us.
Which leads me to my next thing. So, we did get the 72.6 million approved. That does not mean that we're going to spend 72.6 million. We really need to do our due diligence and make every effort possible to bring that down. Our goal for this committee is going to be $67 million. I'd like us to get under there. I know it's a stretch goal. But we need to have some kind of stretch goal so that we can really question what we're buying, what we're paying for, right? There are going to be a lot of nice to haves, and we have to, just because we have, I don't want us to approach anything with just because we have the money, we can spend money on it. We should constantly think of ways to, again, continue to lessen the burden to the town. We're all taxpayers at this table. You, not in Cromwell, but for us Cromwell people, like we need to be sensitive to the fact that the community still, taxes went up. We don't want to create an additional burden unnecessarily. So as we move forward, we're going to talk about value management today. We do have to keep our hats on that says, are we doing the right thing for the town? Now, with that said, we're not going to sacrifice quality. We're not going to sacrifice long-term maintenance costs and efficiency and everything like that. Those things still take priority. But we want to make sure that what we're putting in place isn't just a nice to have, but really a need to have. And we need to make that distinction. I think just having this stretch goal in the back of our minds will help us go down that path and focus our efforts there. And then the last thing I want to mention as far as meetings I did have a conversation with Stuart Popper from Planning and Zoning. So July 7th, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, Joe, is their public forum, Planning and Zoning public forum. So on that date, and I just learned about this, I probably should have known, but the committee, our partners are going to present the site plan to the town. And this is the opportunity the town has, the citizens to come and look at the plan and say, what they like, what they don't like, what they're concerned about. And usually when it comes to site plans, some projects garner a lot of comments, some projects don't. So because this impacts like the neighborhood, maybe there'll be people in the neighborhood who are going to come out and talk. Another thing, so that's July 7th.
Is that the P&Z public hearing? Yeah.
July 6th, was it? Thursday the 6th, sorry. You're right. Yep. You're right. I'm wrong. Fix. I'm sorry, what were you asking about?
It was the same thing. It was on the timeline for 7/6. Public hearing and a resolution in terms of P&Z approval?
Yeah. So they have to approve that night. So we can't have any. He told me that there can't be unsettled issues leaving that night. That they have to settle any issues that night. We have to have a plan to settle issues that night.
But if we have a public hearing that night,
Mm-hmm.
And if issues get raised,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily could all be settled that night.
If they can't, then they'd have to wait to the next one, which would be in next month,
Yeah.
August. So ideally, you'd want to have like an answer to the questions. Basically, if we have made decisions, we want to have justification to explain why we made those decisions. With all that said, I know we submitted the packages to planning and zoning already, but we're going to get into it later. But if there are any changes that we want to make, they did give us a kind of a grace period to do it. So by the end of this week or maybe even early next week, we can provide him updated package if we had to.
So what happens at the meeting if something needs to be decided? Like if they question something and a decision needs to be made to resolve it that night, as a committee, do we vote to let you make a decision on the spot because it has to get wrapped up that night?
I don't know, honestly. I think, so you have your drawings, they're considered your final drawings. It goes through, so the next 3 weeks, why we have to submit them so early is because all of the department heads are going to go through it all and make sure that we even meet the standards, policies, whatever, of the town, right? Once they're happy with it, then they bring it to the public. The things that the public would bring up are things like, like the soccer field may be an issue, not an issue, but like, let's say you wanted to put lights on the soccer field. I don't know if we're doing that, but let's just say we did that, right? The neighbors can come up and say, well, like, what's the plan for the lights? Is it gonna just shine on the field? Is it just gonna be during games? Is it gonna, how is it gonna impact me? We need to have those answers. And if we can't answer them, and if the planning and zoning doesn't feel like we have enough resolution on it, they can say, well, we can't vote on this tonight because you don't have a clear path or whatever, in which case they'd postpone it. So we really want to make sure that whatever we put on there, we have justification for it and have to think through, like, what could people not like or what could they question and have a response ready for it.
So do we have access to those documents as a committee?
Well, we're going to go through a site plan tonight a little bit, right, Joe? And I think over the next couple of days, the subcommittee is going to have to do a more thorough search or a thorough look-see at that document. And maybe I'm hoping tonight we can point out areas that we think as a committee that may be a point of contention.
The planning and zoning process almost never goes for one meeting. Usually it's minimum 2.
Yeah.
Unless it's really contentious, then it can go on for months.
Mm.
If there's broad support, which there is, it can go in one meeting.
Right.
The other thing they can do is they can give you an approval, and then like a week later they'll give you the written approval with their requirements, almost like qualifications for their approval, which they'll look at and confirm at the time we go for permit. But it's kind of odd to think that we'll get through it in one meeting, but I mean, I've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
If they're prepared for it or if we've prepared them and that they're comfortable with it, then it certainly could pass.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to see it for the first time at that meeting, right? They're going to have like 3 or 4 weeks to go through all the documentation. So maybe that's part of why they will feel more confident. I think the wild card is the public opinion, I think, and what kind of feedback they get. And, these meetings, sometimes one person shows up, sometimes 100 people show up. We have no way of knowing really what it's going to look like.
Did Stuart mention if we're going to see staff comments prior to that meeting, if they're going to issue those to us?
I did not ask him that, but I imagine we would. I can follow up with him and ask.
If we have to go back to planning and zoning, is it public hearings over and over, or is it this is just one public hearing and then we might have to come back?
Usually they'd have so the last project I had to do was really contentious.
Mm-hmm.
So we had one meeting where we presented everything to planning and zoning, and then the next meeting they had public comments, and then the meeting after that, the Planning and Zoning Committee discussed the project, asked us for more information, and I think it was maybe a meeting or two later, they finally approved it.
Okay.
This isn't gonna be like that. But I could see where we would have another meeting. I would expect that.
So are these,
Yeah.
is this is holding up construction? What is the hold up like in the timeline?
Yeah, so I was gonna ask.
Well, I think the next meeting would be, for this would be in August, so we would not be able, Jack, would we not be able to submit to the state until we get planning and zoning approval?
That's correct. We cannot, they won't issue our permission to go out to bid. And technically, we're supposed to have our zoning approval in hand before we even ask them for that when we do our final plan review. If it's pending, if it's our plan review's on a Tuesday and the following Wednesday is our hearing for zoning, then they'll just sit on the approval letter if everything else is fine.
Okay.
But if it's, a month, 3 weeks or a month later, there's gonna be another zoning meeting, then, at that point, zoning could change some things, so we might not have the plan review, and we wait until we get the final approval from zoning. So it could have an impact on when we submit to the state and ultimately go out to bid.
And
And I
I
think a
don't-
couple of the other permits, the deep permit is contingent on planning and zoning approval as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if they would hold like special meetings.
I was gonna ask if we could do if they could do
They
a special
might.
meeting.
I'd
So
have to ask.
They do
the
meet
timeline.
twice a month, but my understanding is the second meeting a month is filled with other agenda items,
Right.
so I don't
So
know
I'm
if they
guessing
could
they probably
sneak
have to do a special meeting. for
something in
this.
there.
But again, once we have our public hearing, maybe we become one of those other activities that they do on the off week.
Yeah. So step one is just to do, we didn't have much time to go look at the documents right now to see what's in the site plan in detail. So I think we need to do that, make sure that we're all comfortable with what's in there, and then, if we need to make any changes, get them in before early next week, I guess. He said Friday, but maybe Friday, Monday. We'll see.
What's the level of specificity we have to have within what we submit in terms
They
of
need final-
materials? Things of that
It's really
nature.
the site, right? So it's like, how many pages of drawings is it per, how many you send, what is it, like, it's not everything, right? You're
No,
not.
it was all the sites, drawings, floor plans, building sections, building elevations.
But you're not putting in things like all the details within the building. They don't care
No.
about that. They just care about how it sits on the property and
Right.
what it's impacting.
And planning and zoning is really land use.
Right.
They can't really comment on the interior unless it's affecting something on the outside. Sometimes they will, but it's really outside of their purview. Usually the civil drawings and landscape drawings that we'll submit, they're like at a 90% level, sometimes higher.
Right.
So they're basically almost done.
Okay.
I say things like if we want to make a sidewalk a little wider, a little narrower. I mean, are we locked in once we tell planning and zoning it's 15 feet wide? Is that what it is, or do we have some flexibility?
If there's no zoning regulation that says that has to be 15 feet wide,
Right,
and
right.
you want to make it 14, then usually that's not a sticking point. But if it was required by some other, if like a fire lane has got to be wide
Yeah.
enough. So obviously something like that we couldn't squeeze down, but.
Right. Yeah, and I did.
They'll heavily look at traffic, drainage, those types of things.
Fence height,
Yeah.
Fence
that's
heights.
probably a big issue,
Right, both of those reports were also submitted.
and whether you could see through the fence or whether you can't, kind of thing.
And the screens that goes through them.
Yes, although there's no zoning regulation for you're talking about the roof screens?
Mm-hmm.
There's no zoning regulation for it.
Hmm.
So it's going
It's
to be
whatever they feel
defined
like.
by the committee, I believe.
Don't do that.
Okay. All right. So that's all I had. We can get right into the meat of it. Communications report.
So, not much to report. We have restarted our social media activity, and we will plan to send a newsletter later this week or early next week.
Okay. Design.
Okay. Last week, the design subcommittee participated in a call with Perkins Eastman, Arcadis, and Newfield Construction to work through 33 value management items. 9 of the items we recommend to accept. The total value is $1.1 million. Some of the items included changes to structural fill, bioretention gardens, eliminating the radiant ceiling panels. Design subcommittee will be suggesting that the committee move to accept changes related to the courtyard seat walls, walkway material, fencing, innovation center, partitions, and flooring in the toilet rooms. There were 15 items for a total of $1.5 million that were rejected by the subcommittee. $488,000 of that was eliminating the fields. So that was one of the things that we no longer need to. But some of the other items were reducing pedestrian walkway sizes, reducing plantings, removing the multi-purpose field, lowering the main street roof height, reducing the brick veneer, changing toilet room wet walls, reducing millwork, changing the gym floor material, changing the LVT to LCT throughout the building, changing counters to plastic laminate, reducing theater lighting system design by 20%. And then there were 5 items for about $540,000 that we pended because we felt that there was additional input or analysis that we needed in order to make decisions. Those items included roof screens, curtain wall extension features, operable windows, lighting protection, and the acoustical panels in the auditorium. So we're going to continue to work with Perkins Eastman. We need town input on a couple, which I believe we've gotten since then, to see if any of that savings can be realized. And then there were 4 alternate items that we're keeping as bid alternates. One was actually a reduction of $200,000, and that was for changing the electrical feeders from copper to aluminum. And then there were 3 items to add about $200,000 to the project were add alternates for the amphitheater, irrigation, and a bidirectional amplifier. And then the subcommittee has also asked to add an add alternate for batting cages in the gym, so we can see what that impacts. So when Perkins Eastman presents the value management log later on, the subcommittee will be happy to provide our decision-making rationale for any and all items for the committee. We are still waiting to schedule a follow-up security meeting. And then lastly, I just wanted to reiterate what Rosanna said, that while we did take a moment to celebrate the additional 10% reimbursement that was awarded to us by the state, the design subcommittee does feel it's important to remind our partners and the rest of the committee that we still intend to pursue all opportunities to reduce the overall project budget.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Joe.
Okay. So we're going to cover design update, the value management. So I'll go through that with Tom. Schedule update, which we'll also go through with Tom, and he has a more detailed schedule than I have in our presentation. Meetings and data gathering, and then our next steps. So some of the things that we've been doing since we restarted, and that we'll be doing for the remainder of construction documents, is going through some design refinements. We're still looking at Main Street and coordinating that. We want to present to you the cafeteria, and we haven't shown you that space in 3D yet. And then we'll be incorporating selected value management options, detailing the building, coordinating with MEP, structure, and all the consultants, and then final material selection. So we're currently collecting samples for review for interior and exterior presentation that we're hoping to do at the end of this month. Consultant coordination, we had our re-kickoff meeting think that was this week. It's all kind of blurring together already. And then we had a standalone MEP coordination meeting today, and we have our structural meeting tomorrow. And those are weekly meetings. And then as needed, we'll communicate with the other consultants. So we also had a call with our food service consultant and sent over the cut sheet package to Sandra for her review. That was yesterday. And then we'll be also talking about early procurement packages. So looking at electrical, which will be switchgear and generator, and then mechanical DOAS units and rooftop units.
What does DOAS stand for again?
Dedicated outdoor air
Supply.
air supply. Yeah, thank you. So this is the site plan. In general, we've all seen this. Nothing's really changed much here. Same circulation, bus, and then we have the multi-purpose field here, the softball field, and then the existing field. So one of the changes that has occurred since DD, so this is more the DD level plan. SLR's looked at this bioretention system here, and we can see here in the updated plan it has grown slightly in shape. But one of the things we found was that the soils that were required, we can use the existing, and we don't need that additional 2.5 feet of fill, which is one of the value management options that has been selected. And what this plan is showing, and it's always so much less clear when we project it than it is on the screen, is the different fencing designs that are in the set currently. So we have existing fence in gray, which is essentially wrapping the baseball field down to the new softball field. And then there's some fencing along this property here that's existing. We are adding a new fence, which is called out currently as a wood stockade fence. And one of the value management options was to go to a chain link fence with privacy screens. And then the blue is a 6-foot chain link, which wraps the bioretention and this side of the site. And then there's a 12-foot section of chain link at the softball field here, the green monster. And then the backstop would also be higher. And then there's also fencing around the service area to protect that. This reddish color is a metal 4-foot high picket fence, ornamental fence that separates the parking from the field and also creates a gate for service, so that keeps cars from going back to there. So that's the extent of the fencing. So I know you wanted to take a look at that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of value management options regarding these fences.
So the 4-foot ornamental fence, is that a safety requirement? What's the purpose of that fence?
I think it was mostly to separate the field from the parking, and the height was kept low. I don't
Is
think
that
it's
for like keep balls from rolling out? Or things
yeah,
like
it won't
that?
keep them from flying over it, and it's only 4 feet high. But it's basically to keep the back part of the and the field area separate from the more public part.
Is there a reason why we just didn't do normal chain link?
That was one of the value management options, is to go to chain link. So it was just a design thing. I didn't confirm with the landscape architect as to why they went to ornamental there.
Is the chain link fence, is it vinyl coated or is it galvanized?
It's vinyl coated.
Okay.
We're talking about the red outline there. Was that your question? Or was that
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
ornamental?
it extends from the corner of the Board of Ed and then down to the
Yeah.
neighbors.
I mean, would one option just be just to keep that top tier? I think blocking the service road makes sense, but I don't know about the other. Like if you just kept that top part, right, that runs from the end of the border edge to the soccer field, that at least accomplishes, keeping a barrier between the parking area and then the back of the.
I think
field,
they're
right?
just thinking like if you put it around the soccer field, if any loose balls don't go into the parking lot type of thing. Maybe is that what they're thinking?
That's I would assume part of it. It's also somewhat for security, so it keeps the public in the parking areas, and if there's kids playing on the fields during gym class or whatnot, it allows them to be more segregated from the parking areas.
I just think a 4-foot fence doesn't really serve a purpose in either regard.
I also think it'll keep yahoos from driving their cars out there after midnight.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they can still get in somehow, but it'd be a lot harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the fence makes sense. Like, if you just look at what they have, that even what's existing, you have a fence that wraps around all those fields anyway.
Right. Other question is, do you want a 4-foot
I
ornamental?
don't think it needs to be ornamental.
Yeah.
The black vinyl coated fence,
Yeah.
Walls out 4
Look-
feet is 4 feet.
yeah,
whatever
black
it
vinyl
is.
coated fence looks fine.
Yeah.
The WIS has, I think it's the chain link is galvanized. I wouldn't go with that.
It's like a 5-foot fence.
Maybe it's a little higher. I would definitely. I don't think we need the ornamental. I don't even think it matches your building. An ornamental fence.
Yeah.
If we were going to upgrade a fence, I thought it should be by the bioretention area.
Why you say that?
It just feels like that's more like your front door and it's part of the school.
Like in the front there?
No,
It's
I,
part
No,
of the
this-
learning.
this-
it's
this
part
area
of the
here.
learning area. I feel like it's just gonna
Yeah.
feel really closed off now that we've had to fence that in.
chain link is like really utilitarian, and I mean I'd rather not have a fence around that bioswale anyway.
Yeah.
Somebody will want it.
So there's a fence that goes all the way around the road and it goes towards the building? Is that
Yes.
purple line a fence?
So it's here that wraps the road and then
the
connects
property
back up
line.
into the existing one.
That's
And-
6 foot?
That's 6 foot. Yeah.
And then how
And
big
it's
is
6 foot around the bioretention.
So why do you need it around the bioretention, just to keep people out of it?
Yes. Yeah.
But so you don't need any maintenance in that area once you put the fence up?
Well, there'll be yearly or biannual maintenance required for that. You could get volunteer trees that will sprout up in that area. You need to clean that out once or twice a year.
Where's the gate on that inside bioretention?
I couldn't tell you.
There's gotta be one then,
There's
right?
probably one or two. And
And then how does that
it's probably, I think
fence
there's one up here.
connect to that ad alternate amphitheater?
So the amphitheater's here, so the fence would be separate from that ad alternate.
Is that fence like for a safety thing? Is that why we have a fence around that?
Yeah, so this can fill up with water. So when it
Oh,
is
okay.
filled up with water, you wouldn't want students
I see.
going in there.
So planning and zoning that's something they're going to want.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't take it away. But like the part I question is, there's a whole area along that west side where you have a fence and then another fence. Couldn't it just be one?
So we also have a little hiking trail through here,
Yeah.
and there's a little outdoor learning node tucked in there. So that goes through between those two fences and into that planting area.
So is that
So
why
what-
you're saying, Ken, that the inner fence might want to be an ornamental fence?
Well, it's kind of like a wild area, and maybe you're gonna have a wood fence. Maybe that's the one that ought to be wood.
Yeah, but wood's it's gonna deteriorate and stuff. No?
I don't know. It's with all that chain link, it's starting to feel kind of prison-like. I'm. If you're going to be looking at that, because that's what you're going to be looking at when you look out the back of the school.
Yeah.
I know, I'm seeing two fences really close together over there.
Yeah. Or
It's just kind of,
are we going to use that space if
do
it's
we
all?
need that outside fence then along the road? Is it necessary? I mean, do we need it?
Yeah,
We
couldn't you just
keep the
put like a
fence
gate?
around the bioretention pond,
Yeah.
that's it?
Yeah, but then you have kids like walking around that. Part of this was to make it part of the education,
Mhm.
right? And now you have kids walking alongside a road without a fence. Is that okay?
It's also
How-
defining the school site versus the park at large.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the existing fence line just runs straight up here and then connects back up to that fence.
Blaze,
So
do you
this
think
is
people would
essentially
actually walk
pushing
it?
that out.
I'm trying that outer little learning space you put is the only way I can't cross the.
Can you zoom it in at
retention
all,
pond.
Joe? Is there a way to
Do I have to go all the
don't
way
think I
around?
can.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I don't think anybody's going all the way around that retention pond to use that area. Oh, sorry.
That's what I'm
I
wondering.
do have
I
I do have a PDF. We could throw it up. there.
Oh yeah, could that learning station be moved to a different side, like to the inside, and then that like eliminates the fence? I don't want to mess
Right, so
everything up.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. There you go. Perfect.
Right, so there's a outdoor learning starting here outside the media center. There's another one in the center of the courtyard, then a third potential one here or the amphitheater, depending on if the alternate is accepted or not. And then there's just it's kind of like a little way spot along this hiking trail that would circulate through the woods.
Can that outer fence on the west side be reconfigured and just connected to the retention pond fence? Can I get up and point?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think what
Then
Joe's
you
saying,
lose
and
the
yeah,
path,
you
though.
would lose the path.
You would lose
Right.
the path.
Yeah, then we lose the path.
Right, so I guess you could put a gate here, and then
They
the
don't
path
have-
would be outside the fence. But that would be
I
a
wouldn't get
school
rid of
policy.
the path, otherwise there's already a lot of people walking along that road when you drive through there.
But that
Yeah.
path is within the school property
Correct.
itself. It's
In
not gonna
the-
be general public access.
Yeah, and if you
In
you
the
put it
evenings,
outside
though.
the fence, we can't take kids out there without a permission slip because we can't take them off school property.
Okay.
Do you think that
Well, it's still
student
school
do
property.
you see?
No,
It's just
now I
fenced-in
can't.
property.
I can't take them outside the fence. You know,
Oh.
now I can't go to the pavilion
Even if it's
or
school property.
unless I have a permission slip because they're
But-
off school property.
But do you think any teacher's actually going to take them?
No, I don't think anybody would go. I mean, you could take them for a walk, but you know, I don't think anybody would use that little one, that way station. If you're thinking that educationally, I don't think anybody would use that one.
I was thinking the path for running.
like
the
cross
running
country
club,
or
they can go
Yeah,
outside
cross
the
country goes
fence.
through the woods anyway after school.
yeah,
so
they go off
don't-
property anyway.
They're
right?
off property anyway, so they'd
Yeah.
still go through that. They're through those woods.
Another variable, I know in
Yeah, but
the,
they-
the meetings with the civil engineer, they said that because we've got very good soils, that detention basin during a storm will have water in it, but the anticipation is that will be a dry basin, generally speaking. Because of that, it might be more appropriate to put a 4-foot fence as that inner fence around the basin just to keep people from going down in there,
Right.
rather than making it a 6-foot security fence. And then that changes the whole look of that double fence arrangement.
But is that going to add extra costs going to that kind of ornamental fence?
Not if we could
Not-
trade
not-
it off elsewhere.
And frankly, if you're in a wooded area, you've got shade and shadow, you're not even going to see a black vinyl coated chain link fence. It disappears into the background.
I could get one. I don't have one with me.
So I guess the first question is, do we want to keep the path around that basin for a walking or / running path? Do we think it's actually going to be used?
I would keep it.
Keep it?
I would keep it.
Okay. Anyone feel like we shouldn't keep it? Okay.
You're saying keep both fences? So we can
Saying,
use it?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you said keep the path.
Well, keep the path, meaning you're going to keep both fences if you're going to keep the path.
I know I like the idea of what John was posting about.
But then you can't
Then you
use
then
it.
you don't have the path
Then
anymore.
you can't have the path.
I thought we said if for cross country they run outside the fence anyways.
Right, I'm saying you won't have the path for school, like in school use.
I
It'd
think
have to be
cross
after.
Yeah, what if-
country
what if the
use
gym
it-
teacher-
If the path is there, though, I think the cross country teacher
Yeah.
can use it for practices and.
Or the gym
Well,
teacher
they don't
may
have
use
the
it.
path now. Isn't it outside the fence now?
Yes, it is. They go through the Watrous at the part that we're not touching.
That's a really good point. They don't have it today.
They don't
anyway.
have it today.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah,
have
but
the
we
path
got to
today.
think about it besides just cross country.
I mean, the
There-
gym
there's
gym
yeah,
classes do
gym may
running,
use
and they
it.
do the
Yeah.
mile run, and he could map out
Right.
a path through there. Now they just kind of run around the soccer field.
Right.
So I mean, it would be a nicer run.
What I'm saying, can they do that
Yeah, but
without the
There's
exterior?
a whole path
they-
around the
fence
school
there?
right now.
No, they can't because they can't go off
Oh, 'cause it's
school
during
property if there's no fence there. They can't go past the fence.
So if it's still school property and there's no fence, can they still run on it?
Well,
Even though there's no
what,
fence?
that's a gray area. I don't know exactly what there is
Right.
school property, because now it's not school property. I can't go past that fence on the side of the,
Like, can they go to the front of the school where there's no fence?
yes.
There's no fence.
But they, well, no one goes to the front of the school except when they're getting dropped off. We never go there.
I'm
except
saying if they're
five
do
of
a
us.
mile run and run around the school, could they do that?
They, no, because of the parking. They wouldn't, they wouldn't do it.
Right,
How-
so they
how
can't use
far
that
is
for
it?
a run anyway, because they
'Cause
can't run in front.
They can't, if there's
And
traffic,
they're
they
gonna hit
can't
the
run.
softball field and the service.
No, they'd run around the soccer field, which is what they do now.
Right, so that they wouldn't use. I don't.
I
don't
wouldn't
see-
get rid of it. If you get rid of it, that whole area is going to be a wasteland that's not maintained.
Yeah, no one wants
Give
to.
'em an
No one wants
excuse
to
to
get rid
maintain
of.
it.
No one wants to get rid of the path.
I thought we were talking about getting rid of the path.
No.
Yeah, I think
well,
we're
that's what
saying-
your first question is, and then no one.
But now we're
That's not what
saying
I'm
maybe we
hearing.
should get rid of the path.
You're saying, does the path go with the fence? If you don't have a fence, do you not have a path?
Yes.
Yes, that's what it
This is
sounds
like a package deal.
Yeah.
How far around that drainage area is it? It's like a quarter mile?
Oh, I'm not sure how long the distance is. I haven't measured it, but yeah, it goes from here all the way around. There's actually another little spot here. It looks like, and then it connects back up to here.
I do think the path would be used, and classes might take them out there. I don't think they'd stop at the little.
Well, do you
Could
think
they-
teachers? Do you think teachers might use it like on their lunch break?
I'd
and walk
use.
around?
I would. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
see,
Because
so
I,
keep
it.
I walk
Blaze
down
likes
there-
it. Keep it.
So
I walk
If-
down there around that road on my lunch break now.
Nice
So
shade.
If
area.
people could walk all the way around that basin, I think that would actually be a nice.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
like a half
without
mile
the fence.
yeah.
walk.
But make the fence 4 feet so
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yes.
feel
Yeah.
like you're
yeah,
in a prison.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
Around the basin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As long
feel
as
feel
P&Z
more
okays
natural
that.
if possible.
So what are your thoughts on those two little learning nodes or whatever Joe was calling them? Those little way stations along the path?
I would keep them.
What's involved in those way stations?
I think there's some boulders or something seating area. Right.
Yeah.
Did the subcommittee talk about those?
We talked about the ones that are in between the two wings,
Okay.
and then there was some walls on the, I don't know, consider it the back side of the amphitheater, front side. I don't know what side.
Yeah,
to
it's
consider it.
the top. Well,
Top
So-
side.
The ones next to the amphitheater, we our recommendation was to remove them because the way it was set up and the distance between them, it didn't seem like a usable space.
Mm-hmm.
You can use the actual amphitheater if you want outdoor
Right.
seating. You don't need these other fixtures. And then the circular one in the middle, we felt like it was worth saving those. And Blaze agreed that would be a good use of an outdoor learning space.
Okay.
Definitely keep it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with this out here. Nobody goes out there.
Yeah.
So, those other areas along the path you're saying are just boulders?
these? Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think there's boulders. I have to check the materials plan.
So if that path is closer to the retention pond fence, why do we need that outside fence near the road? Do we need that?
Because
Because-
you're defining the school property.
Okay,
Correct.
you have to define the school property?
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
Okay. It just seems like a lot right
I
there,
think
that's all.
you're gonna have to clear out trees upon trees upon trees just to get a darn fence in there.
Do
From
you
my
know if-
recollection of the property, like
It's right along the road though. There's like grass road, isn't there?
I think in order to create the basin, you're cutting the trees and planting new.
Yeah, all those
you're
trees
cutting
are
the
new.
trees right to the road.
Yeah.
Close
those are
to,
almost like
maybe
trees.
not clear cutting, but
In that
it's
design, that
Oh.
was like all
significant.
new trees.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
those are
didn't
all
know.
new
I
trees.
assumed that was existing.
And there's a lot of pine trees, right? So you can't take down, like pines grow as groups, so you can't like selectively take them down.
Yeah, I think they have it designated as anywhere you see like this clouded bubble here, so that's
Yeah.
existing to remain, that's existing to remain. That would be a new tree, and any of these kind of individual trees would be new trees to kind of fill in. So they're doing some evergreens here to fill in. And
Yeah, you're
create
filling in
buffer.
that cloud of green on the
So,
bottom.
right. So this would be some existing,
Yeah.
and then some infill to create that buffer.
I think I would like clarity on what that outdoor learning spot is on the side of the retention garden.
Yeah, maybe
The
like
boulders?
some kind of visual. Like
Yeah,
what
like
does
is
that-
it boulders or
like, what does
is
that
it
look
Yeah,
like?
like a bench.
cement? Like what, like actually what it is, and put a value to it, like we did for the ones in between the wings.
Yeah, we have a value to it because we definitely voted on it in our first round of value management. That I think having the visual would be really helpful.
These boulders we voted on?
That learning station we voted on.
Oh, I didn't, I didn't know where it was. I think I thought it was.
I thought it was in the middle too. I thought it was like in the middle.
I think it was like 27.
Hmm.
My memory's serving me correctly.
Yeah, this one's been in there from very early on concept.
Yeah, it was a
And then-
early value management item.
What size trees do they plant? Are we talking like saplings or are we talking like full grown trees?
I think they're somewhere in between.
Yeah, they'll be, I don't know, trunk would be like that big, maybe smaller.
Right.
And I think some visuals on the fencing would be helpful too.
Mm-hmm.
And repeat, why do we need a 4-foot fence around the dry basin? It's to discourage people from
Because
going
when
in.
it rains, it can actually fill with water, so it's a safety thing. Just to
Oh.
discourage people from walking into it.
Put that in the category of locks keep honest people honest. You know, if you create a barrier, even if it's 4 feet, at least it's a delineation.
Yeah. Okay. I thought a wet swamp would discourage people from walking in.
Have you met middle schoolers?
Great
That's
place
a
to hide.
challenge.
We're a statement, yeah.
So, Joe, that area is not going to be planted like a swamp.
No.
No, you know,
I thought it was gonna
It's
be.
gonna
I
have
thought it was gonna
grasses
be-
and
you know, it'll have, it's going to look wild, but
Right.
it's, and there, you know, there's, I can't believe we're arguing about this. If I were a science teacher, I would take kids out there to look at the trees, to look at the biotension garden, everything. And all those little nodes along the way, if you get rid of one of those, there's no reason to go further. You go to one of them, you turn around and not continue.
And when I taught science, I did actually went into Watchers Park and we did our ecology test in the park, so that certainly could happen.
Yeah.
I teach math now though, and we don't believe in ecology. In
Is,
words, we don't believe.
does the path go all the way around that basin?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it
that's a
starts
nice.
here and
I mean, that is a
ends
nice
about
walk.
there.
I see it as a really good educational feature.
So again, I guess the question is, do we want to change that fencing from the chain link to a more ornamental one, a 4-foot fence?
I'd like to see what that cost is.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be a little bit more natural. I'm assuming it's a wood ornamental fence. At least that's what's in my mind. I
So-
don't know
Well, you don't want
what we
to-
mean by ornamental.
Wood you'd have to maintain.
Yeah. What do you have to maintain?
What
it
is-
for?
Yeah,
So what
it's
is it? What does an
translucent,
ornamental fence mean?
like
an iron.
black iron, wrought iron.
Like just
Yeah,
the
we-
straight
I
bars,
think it's
maybe.
it's
Yes.
indicated as a the orange line here, reddish orange line, is indicated as a 4-foot high metal picket fence. So it would
Yeah.
probably be aluminum metal
It's like,
picket.
it's like the square,
simple,
you know,
yeah.
like a square post, like this.
Like you see around.
Like pool
the
gates.
Milford
Okay.
Pool
Like
type
what?
thing.
Okay.
pool gate.
Yeah.
Pool gate. Pool gate?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
You can
Like,
see around.
Yeah.
if you've been
The
to my
black-
house, is what I have
yeah.
in my house.
Okay. It's probably what I have at my house too. Okay.
Did I hear pool party at your house? Is that
Pool
what-
party.
So I'll have to just check with SLR and see if there's any requirement for this fence to be 6 or 4. If 4 is acceptable, I don't know if there's any regulations on that.
I'm building one of these right now, and there's no fence at all.
No fence at all. So
So we can check on that too, then. See if it's-
I would advise not getting rid of the fence if we want to go through planning and zoning once.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right.
Okay. So I'll go back to keep it, but let's see what the cost of the ornamental fence is.
Yeah, because right now it's what, 6 foot.
mhm.
So if we drop down the height to 4 and
Right.
change it to ornamental, what the delta is on that?
That would be a Tom question.
at the same token, I think we'd want to take that red fence that's on there now and change that to a chain link fence.
Yes.
I think that was one of the ones that the
Yeah, we
design
wanted to make sure it
subcommittee
got-
accepted. Yeah.
Now, how high is that chain link fence?
Metal,
Four.
That would be
metal,
6.
reconciled estimate says metal picket fence, 4 feet high, $150 a lineal foot. Chain link fence, 6 feet high, was $95 a foot.
It's like $70 a foot more. It's significant
Uh,
difference.
solid wood board fence along the soccer field, 6 feet high, is $200 a foot.
That's here.
And maintenance.
And
Yeah.
maintenance.
Now that was that wooden? The one on the right, the east side.
Their original plan, yes, was for wooden 6-foot privacy.
But now we're doing
Our
chain link with
recommendation
slats.
would be the 6-foot vinyl coated with privacy slats.
And how much is that? Did we find out?
The savings would be almost 139,000.
Sold.
Plus, you don't have the maintenance of a wood fence
Yeah, I don't
with
know.
soccer balls
Why would
being
anyone
kicked
do
at
wood
it.
fencing? It's beyond me.
Yeah.
There are maintenance-free wood fences, by the way.
Now, typically a 4-foot or a 6
Yeah,
feet
but what do those
fence-
cost?
They have roots and leaves.
They're probably not the wood fences that they.
A 4-foot or a 6-foot fence on each end zone, per se, of the soccer field is not gonna stop every ball.
Oh no.
So I see typically on soccer fields and football fields, a high net, like in the goal area. Have we talked about that, or should we talk about that? It's,
Do we even have a fence going on the
because the balls are
north
gonna
end
go
zone?
over the fence.
No, there's no fence
constantly.
here.
John,
if it's that
there's no
close.
fence even there.
Yeah, it's just that line of
Well,
trees.
what about the
there.
other side near the road?
Yeah, that's just right now. Well, I guess with the value management option selected, that would be the 6-foot chain.
We don't want to put any net up that's higher to stop the balls.
I think that's gonna be a park at your own risk parking lot, just like the baseball fields.
No, I was just saying,
So balls don't go
I
flying.
mean, there's not much parking. Oh, I guess it's
Yeah,
that
just
little
this
corner.
right here. Yeah.
okay.
Oh, I don't know. I was just saying there wasn't a fence on the north side either, John. That's all I was saying.
Kids hop the fence now.
I'll say if it were
I
high
know.
school, it might feel different, but
I know
think
some
the
twins that can kick the ball pretty far.
Yeah. All right, so those two changes. The softball field, we're doing the full height for the behind the plate, right?
Yes, that's a full backstop.
Yeah.
And then there's a 12-foot. That little section right there is 12 feet high.
Someone asked the question.
so is that totally fenced in?
Yes.
the
Li-
whole
yeah,
softball
like
field is?
like the little league fields. They're fenced
Oh,
in
yeah.
too.
The outfield.
Does it need to be outfield fenced in?
It's
Probably.
most typical.
Yeah, for home runs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the baseball field doesn't
It's
really
not
have
that-
Yeah, the baseball field's not.
Well, it has. I mean, it's just like
It's like the polo
old
grounds
Yankee
there.
Stadium. Yeah,
Yeah,
polo
it's
grounds.
also it also doubles as a soccer field, so you couldn't put a fence in there.
Right.
Oh right, yeah. That outfield's used as a practice field, right?
Well, that,
So
speaking,
there's a
well,
fence
si-
in the outfield of the softball fields?
Yes, right here.
That's what's contemplated. Yeah.
Does that exist today?
No.
No.
Can't
No.
visualize it.
No, I think the existing softball field kind of
It
overlaps
overlaps
with
just
the
the
soccer
softball
field.
field, there's
Yeah.
no fence.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So if we
yeah,
took out
that's
that
right.
fence, would that, I'm just saying, if we took out that fence on the new softball field,
Yeah.
would that add a little more,
Playing area?
playing area for kids there between the two fields?
Well, if pros
know,
hit it really hard.
Give it a little more flexibility?
They can run and get
Because the
it.
field now doesn't have a
It's not
home
gonna
run
go-
fence.
but if
That's
it-
what I'm saying.
If
They
they're going
sh-
that far, it's gonna go over the fence, right? How high is it?
That
Not
outfield fence is
softball,
6
yeah.
feet.
Yeah, it's not to stop the ball.
Well, I'm just saying, if we
right?
got rid of the fence completely, it'd be another area for kids to play.
Yeah, it's
too.
more flexible if you ever
More
want to run
flexibility,
things
yeah.
this way and mowing and.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh yeah, the mowing
I
part
don't
of
know
it
if we
too.
need that home
Be
run fence
easier.
on the softball field.
I don't think we need it.
I don't think so.
These things, like the athletic director or somebody will have an opinion now.
I mean, we have to also ask about maintenance, right? It's gonna be
Yeah.
easier to mow that area if there's no fence there.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah, you don't have to weed whack.
No one's
the
have to
fence
weed
or
whack it.
anything else.
So the only
It
fence.
seems like it makes a ton of sense. I just don't know if silly things like sponsorships, right? You don't
Right.
want to place for
The warning
sponsorships. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
you-
there's some
Well, there's
things
a- but
that
there's
are
still a
tougher
fence-
to
It's a
do,
good
right?
There's still a fence on the north side.
Yeah, it's yeah.
There's pros and
Yeah.
cons.
Run
And
it.
there's
Well,
the
there's
back
still
fence.
yeah,
too.
there's
too.
still
You have
there's
the
still a
foul
fence by
lines.
home plate.
We have the
There's
green
a fence
monster.
behind home plate. still.
Behind home plate,
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
course.
they'll have
Yeah.
the whole.
Yeah, you have
on
the
the
green
side.
monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
The Green Monster for all your sponsorships.
Yeah.
Casino advertising.
Vertical.
Yeah. So do
I don't know
we,
if you need that.
Jimmy
do we want to vote on removing that fence?
I agree we should run it by Scott Penny, just to get his input on that.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, one other thing to consider too is the vertical fence that we're looking at right now on the softball field. If it doesn't connect with the perimeter fence, is that also a way for him to have a mile run? Can that be part
This-
of a trail?
This one here.
Be able to run around the softball field
Ah.
Hmm.
Oh, like the
to make
small
it a mile?
break.
Oh yeah.
Make a small break so that they can
Yeah, I
run through
agree
there.
with
Gate
that.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so let's add that to the
ask him
list.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
I
We
mean,
need to get those
so-
questions answered this week, though.
Thinking on the other softball fields, the L-shaped fence behind home plate, is that typical that it goes end to end, or
No,
usually
it's
usually
it's just
short,
behind home
right?
plate, right?
Yeah, what are we comparing it to? Something that was built in the 70s?
No, I'm asking it. I'm not a
If you're-
softball's
Yeah.
not my
Right.
forte, so I don't know. Like a typical softball field,
Yeah.
would it have fencing that goes all the way out, or would it just be?
You probably just need it just in the infield.
Because I'm thinking like baseball, they don't have a
Safety.
full.
Yeah, it depends. Some towns
Yeah.
have it fully enclosed.
Yeah. Both of those baseball
The
fields
high school
down at
is
the
not
bottom are
fully
enclosed.
Nope.
Yeah, it's just
There must be some kind of standard.
Yeah, I guess that's my question is what the standard is. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want
Whatever.
me to reach out
Please.
to Mr. Penny and
Yes,
Well, what
please.
was the baseball field contemplating in terms of the backstop?
Oh, yeah, there's none there right
Existing
now.
to remain.
Yeah.
So it's not even
Oh, there
drawn.
has one in
There's
there
a
now.
little one right there.
Yeah, there's a
It has a
backstop.
backstop, but
Yeah.
it stops
I-
maybe at the end of the dugouts or something.
Right, yeah, so
Yeah.
it goes to
Maybe
the dugout, and the
first and
dugout
third
has a
base.
fence in front of it.
I
Yeah.
could see the softball field having a high backstop and then maybe like an 8-foot high fence all the way to the end of the infield and then keep the outfield open. Because you want to keep that kind of for safety reasons, for spectators. But beyond the infield, you
Yeah.
might consider
Yeah, on the
removing
infield,
that
yeah.
fence too.
Do we have bleachers at the softball field?
Yes, there
Yes.
They currently do.
We talked about just using those.
They're there and
And we
there.
contemplated that. Yeah.
Are they going to be new bleachers?
I'm not sure.
I thought we were.
I thought they
I
were.
know for
We
the soccer
were
field
using
we were
them.
I thought we
using.
talked about reusing them.
I don't know. Are there existing ones now?
Yeah.
There are
Yeah, there's some
by the
over there.
softball.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense cutting back all that fencing on the softball to allow complete perimeter usage.
I just
of
don't
the
want it to
entire
feel like
property.
the site to feel like everyone's gated in everywhere they go.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and
I-
like to John's point, it's easier to maintain.
Then the next point to consider is if we're deleting significant areas of fencing, are you now defining the perimeter of what is school grounds and what is park, even though technically the school footprint, the property of the school footprint goes all the way up to the top of the page?
That has always been considered part of school property, all the way to the road.
Yeah,
Are
we
you
just
saying
talked-
by adding the extra fence?
So I say,
We're
are
not-
you intending to define a, secure might be a strong word, but a defined perimeter of the school versus park?
Yeah, but I don't think we
I don't thi-
suggested to remove that fence.
Yeah, I
we're
think
still
I think
keeping
that
the fence along the road.
yeah, along the road we ought to
Just
keep it at
the
least for
outfield
security.
fence.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's really just constrained to the
It's just-
outfield?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yes.
the outfield and
Yeah.
the
Shrinking-
and
shrinking
the
the
full
L
length
portion.
of the L
Shrinking
versus
the L.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because if we shrink it, then
So
you
no-
can walk. You can run that loop.
I mean, today there's no fence around the
Oh, really?
outfield,
No,
so I don't know why we would add one if we don't have one today.
But the reason there's no fence there now is because it overlaps with the soccer fields. Right?
And if
Where's
that's a
the
feature the
volleyball
town
court?
wants, then perhaps,
Volleyball's
the
up here.
outfield fence is a bad thing. So it's good to have that conversation.
So
Yeah.
that's existing to remain as well.
Yeah.
I will email Mr. Penny. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I'll have an answer by. I'll do it either first thing tomorrow or even tonight, and then as soon as I have a.
I'll go down and show them the drawings too.
Just to add, having the fence in the infield protects the kids in the dugout.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That's
So-
required.
No, that would
Right. But do we need to extend it?
All the way, yeah.
Past the bases.
Way-
past the
Right.
first
way
and third
past.
base is what you're saying.
All right. Moving down to the parking lot. Are we done with the softball field?
Yes.
The parking lot. There's a connector between the main parking lot and the bus loop, right?
Yes,
Okay.
right there.
And are there EV
And-
stations in the plan or no?
No. Do there need to be?
I don't know. Is there a grant for EV stations?
There's reimbursements.
Can
There.
it be EV ready if we were to bring them in after?
You can provide a conduit out to the parking lot and leave it for future connection.
Yeah. We might want to do that 'cause it's easier to do it now than to have to, if e-cars are the wave of the future.
And I think we can ask in our Eversource meeting what the current reimbursements are. There's, because there's, business in town reimbursements through Eversource for those.
Yep.
We had a plan, a project kickoff meeting with OSCGR today, and the conversation came up about charging stations. And for grants that will be issued next year and beyond, the state is looking to have 20% of the parking served by EV charging stations. I can't even
Wow.
begin to speculate how much that's going to add to our electrical service to each one of these buildings. Right now, we are not required because we're getting a grant this year. But 20% is what the governor's.
Yeah, but don't people
bill
pay
is
to
looking
charge?
for.
Like, it's not like you charge for free. You have to put your credit card in and
Just
pay
the
to charge.
service, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
it's
the
the
service
infrastructure of
line.
putting,
Electrical.
putting all that gear out there
Yeah.
and actually increasing the
chargers.
size of your electricity going to the building. Because if you're running a building and 20 people are charging at the same time, you've got to increase your service.
Tripping some breakers there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're adding PVs.
So that could be, one step in the right direction is to, to plan for some future chargers by running
Yeah.
a conduit now. while-
Like for 2 spots or something,
Yeah.
nothing crazy.
One regular, one handicap. You put one right in between both.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts on the site plan? Heather, was there anything else
Do
we
we-
wanted to talk about?
I don't know. Shannon?
Is there any value management
Do we
that
have
it's-
to make a decision? I heard, and I might have misunderstood, that the fence between the multipurpose field and the neighborhood, the materials of that fence, is
So
that
they
something that the
may-
committee
Yeah.
needs to
That
decide?
is one of the
or-
value management
Oh, so we're doing that later?
topics to discuss.
When we get to value management options, that's one of the things.
Okay. I just want to make sure we didn't miss it if that was something we had to
Mm-hmm.
discuss or vote on.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Anything else? Okay.
No.
While we're on the site plan, just one more. The bottom left, I just wasn't sure. Were there any enhancements on the where the main road entry is?
No, and someone we had a
On the
comment.
left side.
We had a comment brought to our attention about traffic through the neighborhood to get to that road. We are not
This road?
Yeah, we're not responsible for anything outside the school property. So
Are we
Just wanna-
planting new
just wanna
trees
put that
there?
out
Is that
there.
what the picture is?
There's some, this looks like 5 new trees here.
Oh, but that's all in the school property. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I meant. Yeah, on there. Okay. And are there new?
On the main entrance, we're talking
Yeah,
about.
the main entrance. Yeah, from.
Are
Gear
we-
Street.
are
I was
we-
talking about from Gear.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
okay.
wondering, are we doing anything
Oh
other
yeah,
than?
weren't we like gonna curve that more than it is today to increase the sight line?
Yeah, I think there's some new curb cut here.
Yeah.
There's,
okay.
there's a portion of the shoulder that needs to be excavated,
Yeah.
brought down a little bit on the right-hand side of the picture.
Yeah, this gets shaved down a little bit.
Are those bushes on the left there? Of the
That's
road?
what we're saying. That we're gonna put
These,
new
I think
trees.
those are trees.
To prevent people from parking there?
Aren't those all parking spots?
Well, people park there today.
People park
Yeah,
there,
there's
but it's not
I thought there's
Yeah, aren't
parking
those-
right. There's
Aren't those
parking
like
in there.
little lines mean that they're parking spots?
No, that's the parking grass.
No, I'm
No,
asking
but now
in the
there's
picture.
parking.
The picture to me looks like there's little
That's what I'm
parking
wondering, yeah.
spots. Is that not true?
I think there might be, I
Isn't
I
it?
don't recall.
Isn't it like kind of matted gravel? Maybe maybe
Yeah.
matted
I
grass.
think they're gonna
and
make an
gravel.
actual parking
Yes.
spots
Yeah.
though. I think
Mhm.
That's what I was just asking. Within your drawing, you're not contemplating doing anything with the parking. You're just talking about putting a couple trees, maybe.
they're gonna add real parking spaces
The,
there.
the
I'd have
town
to check
insurance
the
would
actual
prefer
drawings.
trees there, so they don't have to pay for cars that get whacked by foul balls.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, hearing
If
different
you
things.
zoom
You're saying
in-
yes. You.
I'm not saying I don't know. I'd have to
Oh.
check the drawings to
Oh.
see what's there.
I zoomed in on the presentation you sent earlier this
Yeah.
week. It looks like there's parking spaces there. That's why the trees curve a little bit. It
Yeah.
looks like there's some spaces that are defined.
I guess looking at this, one of the questions I have is the outdoor learning in between the wings that's closest to like the Media Innovation Center. Is
Here?
that all pavement?
Yes.
Concrete?
The whole thing's concrete.
Yeah, so that's paved here. There's a tree well here, and some, I assume shrubbery here, and that's a little island there, and another tree island there. So it's got some
What would be the need to have all that
Pavement.
pavement?
in lieu of.
Grass?
Grass.
I guess we could look at.
Grass seems cheaper.
I guess we could look at reducing that.
And
I just
concrete's
feel like
not
it's a
cheap.
lot of it's a lot of
Cement.
cement. And I'd rather
I
again
thought the
see
original
more
plan.
green.
I thought the original plan had a path that went from the door straight back, but was mostly grass around it.
It might have. With
I don't
the,
remember this much concrete before.
So when we eliminated the drop in the footprint here, remember we had the ramp that ramped down. Once we got rid of those, it changed the grading in here to bring this up to connect to the first floor height. So that
But the-
changed some of the pathways. They had to get longer because
But the concrete doesn't impact that, right? I mean, you could still grade up with grass.
yeah. So we could look at reducing paving here.
As part of that is a contributor to your egress from the building, you can't count on a grass path as part
Right.
of your
Like-
egress elements.
Oh, really?
So right, so this path here is this at least from here. That's part of the egress path. This one here is part of the egress path. So this area, maybe this island could get bigger and have less seating area, but the actual path width has to remain the same.
I thought there was no seating.
There's there's
Seat
it'd
walls.
be the seat walls around here and here. The rest of the seating that's shown would probably be part of outdoor seating in FF&E.
So hang on a
Like
second.
benches and stuff?
The media
tables or-
the media center and robotics,
Yes.
they have doors that exit out
Correct.
into this area.
Yeah.
So from those doors, you have to have a concrete path,
Mm-hmm.
right?
But right now, it looks like everything's concrete except where there's green. Is that true? Like what I see white is just all concrete.
Right.
What about that lighter color?
I think it's concrete.
Like,
I think the paths are bituminous, and the plaza or patio, whatever we want to call it, would be concrete. No, that's grass. So that would be shrubbery or low like ground cover. All of that. Yes, that's the second stair exit. Yeah.
What's that dotted line separate on robotics there?
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand. I thought
This is a little bit old. There was a extended
Awning?
roof here. Yeah. That got value engineered out at the end of SD.
I don't know. I'd like to see that rework. I'm just not a fan of
All that concrete.
all that sidewalk and concrete and
Yeah, so-
islands and maintenance.
Right. So all these paths here are for egress.
Yeah,
and
the
that connects to
paths
here.
I understand are saying in between the paths you really need
Right.
to have
So
all that.
then the only other concrete is this little seating area.
And then the question too is maintenance. How hard is it going to be to get a lawnmower in there?
all
And
those little tiny patches.
right.
It's so silly.
Yeah. So this is all ground cover. So
I mean, we could do rocks, right?
You do
Instead
turf?
of
You do fake grass?
I would not advise rocks.
No.
Yep.
Not near, not
Birds
near
pick
those
'em
many
up and-
windows.
Oh yeah, the kids will throw them.
You can't do fake grass? Are there fake grass options? Like turf that doesn't.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding.
I'm not doing fake grass.
I mean, if it's 30 square feet, why?
Yo-
Are there not?
There's fake grass
Faux grass.
options, but it's ludicrous.
What's ludicrous? I don't.
cost?
Why would we put in fake grass when you can get the real thing?
We
For
just said 'cause
maintenance.
of maintenance. That's why.
Then put concrete there.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It'll be cheaper
Well,
in
if
the
you
long
want the
run.
aesthetics, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
so-
the aesthetics.
Turf is super expensive.
Turf requires tons of maintenance. You have to repack it with the little rubber pellets all the time.
I mean,
You
it's
have to
not being
you have
used
to
for
take it up and
sporting
re-sow it.
purposes. Okay.
You know.
Alright. My brother's in Houston. The dogs have used the grass for 15 years. He's never touched it once. So that's all. I don't, maybe it's a different material.
Mm.
Okay.
Good idea.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm
It seems like with all
still
the
hung up
the
on-
doors, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doors. And because all of those need concrete paths, it seems like there wouldn't be potentially much opportunity to reduce
The
the
concrete.
total amount of pavement. I don't know, but I'm not the.
What's the square footage
designer,
we're
so
looking at?
It might be
roughly?
worth just looking at it.
I'd have to calculate it. I have no idea.
I mean, it looks like the size of about one of the classrooms.
Yeah, so that
No, it looks like
basically
it's like
each one of
6
these areas here would be. I think we looked at this when we were looking at the seat walls. I think each one of these would be half a class, so you could get a full class here. Is that right? Am I remembering that right, Jack?
It sounds proportionally right.
And then each one of these areas would be a class size here, and then the amphitheater would probably be 2 classes. So that's
Right, but you're not
your
gonna
scale.
have 6 classes out there at the same time, ever.
I mean, if there's a fire drill, would they all exit at the same time? Is that what we're worried about as far as?
Yeah, so the egress path has to remain no matter what.
Yeah.
Now, does the egress path off the media center and the robotics classrooms, that can be not as wide because of its occupancy, correct?
Right, yeah, actually, we're not using these 2 doors for egress. That would just be convenience to get
Oh.
out to here, so you don't have to go
So you
through
don't
Main
have
Street
to.
and around.
And
Right.
this is just concrete, not pavers or anything.
I believe it's just concrete, yeah. I think we might have had pavers at one point
Yeah.
and VE'd it. Or VM'd it.
No, what does everyone think about all the? I mean, John, if we had grass in there, how hard would it be for people to mow it?
It just adds another step. The only thing I worry about with grass close to windows is it shoots rocks. You get a lot of broken glass when you're
Oh.
cutting that close to a building.
Mm.
It fires debris into the windows.
Yeah.
That's
They
the only
You might
downfall.
even
of
just
it.
use a line trimmer, not even bother
Yeah,
using
I've
a
seen,
mower.
yeah,
It's so
I'm just saying that happens. when you have
There's
grass
probably
close.
there may be a mow strip too against the building.
Is there a way maybe to make it a little bit more symmetric, so where you've got that little island on the bottom? Sorry, go over a little bit more with the laser, up a little bit to the left.
This?
About that area, can you make it look more symmetric to the 2 trees below it? So maybe it would look like less concrete?
Well, we have the path here,
Mm-hmm.
and then it comes out here, so.
I think like Rosanna
But the
said, we
paths
just
are
don't
going
want,
around the trees, aren't they?
we just don't want to have such a tiny piece of grass in there.
But there isn't grass there. That's ground cover and trees.
Right, so
Yeah,
the
so that
darker is
island-
ground cover. Which,
Oh.
Yeah.
this island here?
The island that's right below it,
This one? Oh, this
down,
one?
that
Yeah.
one. Can you make that more?
That's ground
Use
cover.
that, the trees and the ground cover,
And mirror it here?
and mirror it on the other side, the north side.
Yeah, I suppose we could bring the path around and connect over to here.
That might alleviate some of it, like break up.
And make it
some
a
of
big
then
it.
island of
maybe-
trees.
And do something more in here.
Well,
like-
still leave a path down the middle, because I mean,
Yeah.
kids will walk down the middle anyway.
Mm.
But
It kind of creates like another, like, even if it is that, if it
Almost
is
like
that
an
air
archway,
concrete, kind of like
right? 2
creates
trees like boarding. Yeah.
another kind of like learning area.
Yeah, I'll talk to Rickner and Seeger and see if they could reduce some of the paved areas here. and
I
get
like what
more.
you're saying about the symmetrics.
Yeah, create like a half circle horseshoe.
But I feel like if we do that, it's just gonna be more concrete.
Well,
You think?
you'd increase the size, the area of it though, and make the path go around it.
Yeah. Like make it more like those trees, the ground covers, if they widen a little bit, then it reduces the concrete, but
It might
also
just
doesn't
be
need grass.
Do you have 3D renderings of that area?
No.
And when we say ground cover, we mean like mulch or what?
No, like ornamental grasses and things. Things that you're not gonna be mowing with a lawnmower.
But hopefully easy to maintain.
But is there mulch
What does that
and
do to
stuff?
maintenance?
You have to mulch it all the time?
No.
Have to weed it in between?
Yeah, you probably have to weed it once or twice a year.
I mean, we have those overhead aerial shots, but it's just the trees in there, and then the rest is just flat land, so it's not really modeled or rendered anything yet.
I kind of like it the way it is, just the way that it has two smaller, more intimate areas outside of the media center and robotics, and but I understand the making it symmetrical. I think making it symmetrical is going to compromise the exit from the stair. I don't know.
You
I
think
like
so?
it the way
Even
it
if
is.
Even if it arcs around like it does on the south side?
Yeah, because you see how the stair exits, they're not symmetrical to each other.
Right, they're all set.
Right.
I think the cement could be good for the robotics too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a-
I mean,
that's a
what I
good
was
point.
thinking.
If this tree was here, this path would have to come around, just like this path comes around.
Yeah, I don't know that it was the amount of concrete that was bothering me when I looked at it. I think it was just the symmetry. So if it's still okay to have an arc around the trees.
All right, well,
Yeah.
we'll see if they can look at it
Yeah.
and reduce. I mean, I think there's like another little seating. They have a lot of different intimate areas here that break this space up.
It's
So-
gonna look all different too when you're actually on the ground level.
Yeah.
Like, this is just like
Yeah.
you're not gonna notice that there's as much asymmetry when you're standing in the middle of it, I don't think.
That's true.
And those trees are all gonna grow in and they're not gonna I would imagine so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Alright, any other thoughts on this?
So this is what the plan that will be submitted to planning and zoning.
Yeah, so all these decisions really need to be made by the end of this week of what we're gonna do.
Well, that's what I was asking before, like planning zoning, once we send this, we can't change the concrete to go to grass?
I think we'd have to.
They want
Talk to
final.
Stuart,
I asked
yeah.
Stuart. I said, cosmetic changes. He's like, "What do you mean?" And I called him up. He's like, "We want the final plans. Like, what it is in the plan is the plan."
No, I know, but I thought even as we get into construction, right, things come up, you got to pivot. We have contingencies. Things are more expensive. We change. This is inside
You'd
something
have to
that
go
no one ever
back.
sees.
You'd have to go back.
You'd have to
yeah.
go back and get their approval for things
Right,
like
plus
that.
we just sat for 4 weeks. Didn't get a
No,
chance
I
to-
know, but I really didn't think if we were changing 30 square foot from concrete to grass and an interior of a school building, planning and zoning needs to approve it.
They will.
I thought we were talking about heights and safeties and things like that.
They made it sound like any changes they would need to approve. Now, he may have just made that broad statement because I didn't have any concrete examples to provide him otherwise.
The reason you don't want to change your pervious and impervious surfaces is because it changes your drainage calculations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Heather, for site plan stuff you want to bring up?
Yeah. So if there's
Nothing
any
else is jumping out.
any of these changes, we'll have to give Richter and Sieg and SLR a couple days at
Yeah.
least. They might even want to. I don't know if they can make some of these changes in a day.
Yeah. I'd hope fencing callouts would be easy. Aren't those just notes on a drawing?
Yeah, that would be easy, but like redesigning this would it might take them a few days.
Did we decide that we need that redesigned? Or are we just, yeah, options?
Yeah, I think, given the proximity to our deadline for submission,
Yeah.
if there's not some strong consensus that we're over-designed, I'd say we move forward with what you have.
Right, we don't want to delay things if it's not a necessity. I mean, if he can come up with a quick idea and wants to shoot an email to us, we can take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll talk with them in the morning.
Yeah, just keep in mind, sometimes it's hard to understand the scale.
Mhm.
So like those concrete areas that are between the trees, and those are, I don't know, they might be about the size of this table, maybe smaller.
Yeah, I think it's about 8 feet wide. So maybe.
But like even just the square boxes outside, like the media center.
Oh, like this.
Y-
That's
Wha-
probably. I'd say that's if that's I think this is a 6 foot wide corridor, so that's 6. So that's probably about 8 or 9.
Yeah, so that's 4 ceiling
Four
tiles
ceiling
wide.
Tiles, yeah.
What's is there something bordering that? Is that like a platform? What is that?
This dashed line,
Yeah.
that was an overhang that got
Oh,
scaled
okay.
back.
Gotcha. And you said seating would be like benches or something we'd want to put out
Yeah,
there.
it could be tables. I think that's just showing tables and chairs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Anything else on the site plan stuff? All right. Thanks, Joe. Moving on.
I just had this, and if we needed to talk about it. All right, value management. Ready, Tom? All right, so I broke this up. I tried to keep it based on site versus building, and some of these do have things sneaking in here, like a couple alternates, and then the values are rounded. So courtyard seat walls. Delete was accepted.
This was accepted by the design subcommittee?
Correct.
Is that what that indicates? Okay,
So,
thank you.
And I want to make it clear, though, that was only
Oh.
the ones for the amphitheater. We were keeping the ones in the middle,
right.
so it's
then
partially
it'd
accepted,
be-
partially rejected.
Right. So it's eliminating these and keeping these, which define the classrooms.
So to keep it simple, I just cut that value in half from what you saw the other day.
Random question. Does that amphitheater need to be ADA compliant?
Yes.
It is.
And is.
It is. Yeah. Bioretention cut, so reduced from 2.5 feet. That was accepted. I think that
What
was
does
it.
that mean?
So that was with the because the soils are good on the site, we don't have to
No,
ship
the
in
feet,
additional
yeah.
soils that would for drainage.
Sweet.
Oof, that's a
So
good
that
one.
was
That's
just
a good one.
design change. I don't think it needed to really be accepted. So structural fill at the tunnels, that was also accepted. So talk to the geotech engineer. So as long as we're not putting buildings over those areas, we don't need to put structural fill. So that was able to be accepted.
So those two are over,
Over half a mil.
close to 600.
It's, yeah,
Mhm.
670,
Wow,
685.
that's great.
No, 585.
585.
So the solid wood fence to chain link privacy, that would be an alternate. That's along the property line. That was that yellow fence.
That's
On
the
the
one all the way
east
to
side.
the east side?
Correct.
But I thought we went with the chain link with the slats.
Yeah.
We
Oops.
haven't talked about it
Y-
yet. That's
Well-
the one
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
brought
so we had
us.
it
Use
listed
till
as-
wait till value management.
Oh, I
So-
know, but they have it as an alternate on here.
Yeah, so it
So-
could be accepted then.
So the way I understood it is the alternate would be the solid wood.
Correct.
Correct.
So the base, because originally the base was the wood fence,
Okay.
and we opted to have the base as the chain link with an alternate for solid wood. In my opinion, I don't even think we need the alternate for solid wood because I
Right.
wouldn't want to see solid wood there.
Right. So why is that
So-
even an alternate? I think we just
I
go
think
the
we could
chain
just-
link
Change it.
Just change it.
to chain link.
Okay.
So, that
So what does that
accepted.
139 represent? That represents
Going to chain link or?
Yes.
Changing
so,
from wood to chain link.
So the way I organized in the presentation is this is what it was, and this is what the value management. So it goes from this to that. So it would be to go from solid wood fence to chain link privacy would be $139,000 savings.
Yeah, that was
Yes,
S
for
three,
any-
Jen.
What would be the reason for keeping it as an alternate?
Well, after your discussion tonight, it sounds like there's no
Yeah.
reason to make it an alternate. Just
Right.
commit to the chain link and be done.
Right.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm asking the question though, like, is there
Maybe
a
at some
reason
point-
that we're not thinking about? That's why
I
I'm
think it was a
asking
planning
Joe.
and zoning.
Question.
That was
yeah.
one of the issues.
Yeah.
The other issue was maybe
Oh,
some
yeah.
other committee members might want the wood fence. I think that was another.
Yeah,
thing
that's what it was. We wanted to
discussed.
present it to everybody, yeah.
Okay. I'm good, Chandler.
So we're trying to present all of these that were previously presented so you can have
Mhm.
a final look at them.
Yep.
Because some of them were, you'll see, were kind of desperation type
Like
items
deleting of
that we're
fields.
definitely
Yeah.
not gonna take.
Then the ornamental fence to chain link was accepted. That was 144K. That was that red fence that went from the Board of Ed to the property line. Stone dust pathways to asphalt walks was accepted, 95K.
Where are those walkways?
So those were, I believe it was around the soccer field. I think this one will remain as stone dust. Or did we-
No, no.
That
it
one
would-
was
it would-
No.
In
asphalt as
order
well.
to build a quote-unquote durable stone dust walk, it was costing us more than the paved walk.
So it was all
So-
the stone dust.
So
Was
all
this-
the
Yeah, okay.
all the
Correct.
stone dust goes away and comes back as a paved walk. So it's
Was-
more durable and less costly.
Was it
was
stone
more
dust or
expensive.
was it decomposed granite?
I think it was
I-
listed as stone
I'm
dust.
looking through here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought we discussed going from asphalt to
Crushed
dust
granite walks.
at one
So it's
point.
crushed granite.
So, okay, decomposed granite.
Just to 3-inch bituminous.
So why did that one change from, like, before it was a value management to go from asphalt to stone dust? So what's the
No,
thought?
No,
originally
it
it
was
was,
all-
the perception was that the stone dust was gonna be cheaper than paving it.
But
That's what
it's-
I'm asking.
but
So
it's
I'm saying
not.
we, at a value management before, voted to change to stone dust. So I'm
No,
trying
you
to
did not.
understand the
No.
process.
No, there, I think there was the original, the landscape architect's design, because that's kind of a more rustic area
Right.
anyway, less traveled. So I think that was part of their original thought process on that area. But when we compared the costs, after the last estimate,
Yeah, so
it
that's what
was
I'm saying, now we're
slight,
going back to
marginally, like
It's on
50
there.
cents a foot or something like that. But knowing that you'd have to maintain that more intensively down the line, it just didn't seem to make any, any financial sense. to
It's
do that.
less expensive and it's easier to maintain.
Right.
I would not accept anything that's bituminous asphalt.
You say again? You're not accept anything that's what?
Bituminous asphalt.
Tuitous?
Bituminous asphalt walk.
As
I would
far
keep
as,
it, I would keep it stone
A
dust.
bit.
looking at the concrete sidewalks, they're also less expensive. So it would basically be a wash. Turn the stone dust into concrete walks for $0 savings, but less maintenance down the road.
I'd rather do that than have asphalt.
And
Concrete
just out
walks?
of curiosity, what?
Asphalt and oil around a bioretention garden doesn't feel right.
Okay,
Oh, like environmentally, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
that
a good
helps.
point.
Thanks.
So
As
Jack,
we,
you're
as we
saying-
drain our asphalt parking lot into that basin. But financially speaking, it's about a wash to go from the stone dust walk to a concrete walk, and you'll have fewer maintenance headaches.
It's
So
hard to
you're not,
believe
you're not
that
gonna be saving
concrete
any
be.
money though.
You won't be saving any
Right.
money, but you'll be saving maintenance down the road.
Yep.
You're saying the asphalt is more prone for cracking than
No, we're
concrete?
saying the stone dust would need to be
Oh.
maintained
Yeah,
annually.
I get the
Yes.
stone dust.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh.
Ken's saying the asphalt,
Asphalt is
would
more-
leach or whatever. I don't know if leach
It's
is the right
just
word.
nasty.
Yeah. I'm good with concrete.
So if there's no difference between concrete, would we do concrete around the soccer field and leave this as the more natural walking path as the crushed granite?
No, I think when we discussed with the design committee last week, the decision was, we don't want the long-term maintenance, make everything concrete.
We wanted everything concrete.
Yeah, but now we're discussing it as a full committee, so that decision, I believe, can change.
Could,
Right.
could. Again, looking at it from as I said, against the concrete, it's a financial wash for all intents and purposes. But it's a matter of the long-term, living with it.
Sounds like there's long-term maintenance costs using the crushed stone. You're gonna have to keep replenishing it and whatever.
It's a well-designed crushed granite walk. So it's built the right way, but that's what's adding to where its cost is comparable to concrete.
I'm just
But-
looking at it from a design eye of having a walking path not be concrete.
Hmm.
So
I mean, I'd
that's what
rather
I'm
have
just
it
throwing
be.
that out there.
I'd rather have it be crushed stone too, but I get the maintenance.
So if you had concrete there now, you'd have to shovel it. If you had the stone, you wouldn't shovel it.
You'd still have to shovel
Yep.
it.
You still would?
That's
Would it
where
be-
that's where the maintenance is gonna.
Is that where the
really get
can you
Yeah.
damage a crushed stone though?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's actually a letter that goes to the state from the superintendent that says you'll maintain any crushed stone dust walks. So
Now, if it's not part of your egress, if it's like around the pond and you're not going
Right.
to use that in the winter,
you don't have to.
then whether it was concrete or stone dust, you might choose not to shovel it.
But if it's concrete, then people would treat it as like an actual path, or no?
Well, if it's asphalt, they same.
Mm.
It's a matter of how you intend to use it in those colder seasons.
So if it's
whether
a
you're
hard
gonna-
surface, you have to maintain it and you have to sand it and salt it to keep it.
If you're not
be
going to,
hazardous.
if you're not going to use it in the wintertime,
It's not part of
whether
the egress
it's
path.
whether it's stone dust, bituminous, or concrete, if you're not going to use it, you wouldn't shovel it.
So around the soccer field, if it was crushed stone, would you have to treat it in the winter and and shovel and all that stuff?
If you're going to put people out there, no matter what the material is, you would shovel it.
Mhm.
If you're not, then you wouldn't.
Mm.
Is there a reason why there's a walkway around the soccer field? We don't have that today.
It's for accessibility. So
Where's the team gonna sit?
the team actually sits here. So that path brings you to the team benches, and then the spectators sit on this side, closer to the parking.
It's like the high school.
Okay.
And even if it flipped, if the
Same
spectators were here,
problem.
you'd still need the accessible
Yeah.
path to get to the bleachers.
So what we're saying is crushed stone versus concrete, the cost is the same.
Right, and the
Yes, yes.
maintenance is more.
Maintenance
the
is more
crushed stone.
crushed stone. Asphalt, you have a savings, but you don't really want
I just think asphalt's a step too far.
for the basin part or everything. Like, would you put it
know,
around the
if
soccer
I had
field?
if I had a choice, I would go concrete in the soccer field and keep the crushed stone around the basin. But I suppose bituminous asphalt around the soccer field I could live with.
Yeah, because I think from a running standpoint, the asphalt's like a softer, like softer
Yeah.
on the feet.
How about stone?
Like
I
when
was gonna
people
say
say, "Oh, there's a
running.
running path,"
How is
yeah.
running on the stone?
Probably good, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not hitting a hard surface.
Still a hard
Well,
surface.
But
none,
is it-
none
but
of
it's
none
not-
of these is going to be considered a resilient surface by any means.
Mm.
They're going to be pretty hard. I mean, levels of hard, but
I would imagine concrete's the hardest material, right?
probably.
Yeah. When I think about there's a running path, I either expect to see asphalt or crushed stone.
Yeah.
So crushed
Stone
stone, we're
dust.
talking like little
Stone
pebbles,
dust, yeah.
or is it like
Stone-
dust?
stone-
Stone dust.
It's actual
basically.
dust.
I don't
Very
think the
tiny.
main use for any of them will be as a running path. I mean, people may use it as a running path, but I don't think that'll be the main use, so I don't
Mm.
think that should really enter into the equation.
I wasn't sure how.
I just
to the
don't know,
extent the
yeah, like-
cross country team was gonna say,
Or if
devise
they
what
run
their
the
path would be.
mile, if they're gonna run the mile and Penny has them running around the basin for
Yeah,
4
but
times.
they do that once a year.
Yeah,
So
I know. It's not like gonna
Yeah.
damage. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, that's true.
So it comes down to aesthetically, who do you want? Stone versus concrete around the basin. assuming asphalt might not be environmentally friendly for that area, even though,
Hey, are we billing this thing as being sustainable?
the school,
Yeah.
yeah.
So why would we consider asphalt and oil?
I didn't say asphalt and oil in the basin. I said concrete or crushed.
But,
I say
but
asphalt.
but you know what I mean? I'm just
Yeah.
like, what's our message?
Well, because we're also looking at cost savings. That's why. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
I think the crushed stone around the basin is great, good.
I like that too.
Or stone, sorry, I keep using those terms interchangeably. Stone dust or crushed stone? Or
Yeah.
I like that. It's more rusted out there.
Yeah.
And then concrete around the
Soccer.
Soccer fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
Okay.
We'll vote on all this stuff at once when we get to value management.
All right, so reducing the walks by 25%. This we had to reject because the walks are size for egress paths and egress widths, so we cannot.
So we don't have extra walks that are not
No.
necessary. Okay.
What's the width? I think I asked that in the meeting.
It depends on where it is.
Oh,
so
egress.
it's based on the egress
Why-
width and egress capacity.
Why was that even on this list then?
If they're so, I
'Cause we have
guess.
to-
Some
I
of these
thought
items
I-
were suggestions by the estimator without
Right.
necessarily considering what the impacted design would be.
Okay.
But things that they've done on other projects, well, hey, if you've got this, maybe you need less of it. So some of these were speculative.
Okay.
All right, so
Gotcha.
like this width is set by the egress capacities. These are all set. This is set by getting a truck out there. So there's no extraneous. I mean, maybe in here you could, but there's a lot of traffic in here, so that's convenience. Because you have parent drop off and the bus, and everybody's coming in that direction. So. For the reduced plantings, I did speak to Richter and Segan. Oh, that should not have been accepted. That should have been rejected. I talked to Richter and Segan about the plantings, and what they said what's in the set is what would be required by planning and zoning. So if we'd have to restudy that to see if we'd have to make sure that we're compliant
So you're
with
saying planning and zoning has a requirement for how many plantings we put in?
Yes. So there's requirements in the parking area. I mean, we could, if you were going to reduce, I guess you could do in the courtyard, but then it's just going to be an open courtyard like some of these here.
Okay.
And then delete play fields was rejected. So I will update this when I resend this out tomorrow morning for your record.
So is this what Heather, when you opened it, you said about 800, I did the rough math, but when you said there's this much dollars in VM items that were discussed,
Yeah.
I mean, this is adding up to close to $1 million, right?
Yeah, there's more.
This
Oh,
is
yeah.
just,
Oh, there's definitely
that's
more.
just site.
Yeah.
So
So that's just
Can
on
we-
the
That was
site.
not all
can
we
we
talked about.
vote on the
Yeah.
site item separately then? And just the differences being on here that the alternate goes away and we're going to chain link privacy. We're rejecting the stone dust one.
So just go through each one and just vote,
We'll vote for each one individually.
right? Oh, no, sorry.
I was gonna I was gonna take a motion to approve with changes.
Oh, I understand now. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So basically everything on here except, and correct if I'm getting these wrong, the alternate for the solid wood fence would no longer be an alternate, would go to chain link privacy as an accepted change. The stone dust gets rejected.
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep stone dust.
then
Ornamental
I will-
fence to chain link at the edge of the field.
That's in there, right?
So you're saying you want to keep that.
Keep that. It's an alternate. We want to make
Yeah,
it
so
accepted.
This will go to accept it. That will go to reject it.
What's not on here, which may be
And then this would go to reject it because that's a typo.
Wait. What will go to rejected? That
What's not on there
So
is the
this is
chain link.
Accepted.
accepted.
Yep.
The ornamental fence to chain link Oh, that's accepted.
That's
We
accepted.
have to
Oh, sorry.
verify the
He said
softball
rejected.
field.
Wrong one.
That's okay.
Stone
Yeah.
dusted
Yes.
asphalt would be rejected.
Yeah.
And then I will correct that as well.
Yeah.
And
then
then
this out.
So the
the,
plantings will say rejected.
Yes.
and then we have to add changing the the bioretention chain link fence to a 4-foot
Right.
Ornamental.
ornamental, which is gonna add cost.
So that's a design change, not a value management. Is that, would you consider that value
It's-
management?
You wouldn't consider like a negative? I guess let's find out how much it costs first.
Negative, right.
Well, what's it changing from? It's changing from what's.
Well, one of the first questions is, is a fence there required? If so, what height?
Yeah,
And then if you want, I mean, you could bid both. You could bid chain link and decorative
yeah.
and see what the
But
difference
what's
Is it bid
contemplated now? I can't
Somebody
Right
remember.
now
said
it's
earlier-
a it's a
6-foot chain link.
6-foot chain
6-foot
link.
chain link to 4-foot, and or those ones.
Just
Somebody
around
said
the
earlier
basin.
that a black vinyl coated chain link fence is gonna blend right in eventually.
Especially in shade and shadow, you're
Yeah,
right.
right.
The black chain link goes,
Yeah.
has
And it'll
visually
be
goes away.
less expensive than the ornamental.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's just go by this list for now. That what was the other one, Shannon?
Well, there's reduce the fencing around the softball field.
Oh, do we have to get that confirmed with Penny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would say that's pending.
Yeah.
The other item on this list is, we're not gonna have crushed stone around soccer, that's gonna be concrete.
Oh yeah. But
That's
that
gonna
doesn't
up
change
the-
costs though, right? We said the concrete,
Oh,
and
yeah,
so that's a design change. Okay, so I will take a motion to approve this list with the changes we just talked about.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay,
And these accepted, those first 5 that are accepted, I mean, that's $900,000.
that's big,
So
that's
it's-
big.
Yeah, we'll keep going, but yeah.
Right direction.
That's fantastic.
Okay.
Good job, team.
All right. So these have been broken up into building envelope and then building interior items. So lower Main Street roof was rejected. Curtain wall portal framing detail, that's pending. We're studying that internally to see if we could clarify that and get a better price on that. Brick to ground face CMU was rejected. I don't know if you wanted to talk about any of these. Roof screens reduced 50%.
What's ground face CMU?
It's like a smooth, kind of like a gloss finish CMU. Versus
CMU
brick.
stands for.
Concrete
Uh,
block.
Oh,
Cinder
concrete
block.
oh. I see. Yeah, yeah.
Right, that. So that's painted. I don't think there's any ground face in here.
Yeah. Okay. For internal, external?
That would be for external.
Mm.
It says these are all building envelope items.
Yep.
Reduce roof screens. So what we've shown in the set is what we anticipate needing to screen the rooftop units. I don't think I have those. Yeah, they're not in this presentation, but essentially there's one here that screens all the units between the gym and the auditorium. There's going to be one that wraps these units here that's visibly seen. Screens here and here. So this one's screening from the road. This one's actually screening from looking down from the classrooms onto those units. And then the units that are up on top of the second floor are screened as well. So that's what we were showing for planning and zoning.
What happened? I thought we had the mechanical units where like the screening was part of the.
So
unit.
based on the final design and layout, there was no standalone unit where that would have made sense to do that for.
Okay.
So we had, so you can see this one, it's really tight, but there's also condensing units here. There's ductwork and piping and vents coming up here. We're looking at maybe moving one of these units into that area as well. And these kind of cityscape screens can be expensive, I
Okay.
guess, is what we heard from Newfield. And then we had it also up here, but again, there's a lot of condensing units, rooftop ductwork that we're going to be screening as well. So it didn't make sense, and it would have been cost prohibitive as well.
So what you're talking about here does that represent the the $147,000 savings, or is that? all in
So
right now?
we're saying that the savings are reducing by 50%. We don't think we could accept that 147 based on what was in the documents. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes, the way you explained it the other day, it's gonna be some savings, but we won't get the 50%.
Right. So that number is to be determined based on what was shown.
What happened to no screenings? What? Sorry. Because we talked about with plan and zoning, it doesn't have requirements for it.
Right. So, but our understanding is that they'll be looking to see screenings from the road and from the public way.
So they don't have
Oh,
anything written, but they have a expectation.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
And then eliminate operable windows. This is pending. So I spoke to CES today. For the design of the mechanical systems, the operable windows are not an issue for the mechanical system. So the mechanical system is designed to meet the loads of the spaces. And the operable windows won't impact that.
Meaning,
load.
if you open a window, it's not going to impact anything.
Correct, but there's energy loss and you'll spend more money, but it won't change the sizing of the system.
And the operable windows were for like second floor, first floor. What's
It's in classrooms throughout the
how often
building.
do you open windows, please?
Well, rephrase that.
You
If you're in an
yeah,
air-conditioned
yeah.
building, how often are you going to open the window?
If at WIS, this is because the system did not work correctly. So that was a huge issue for teachers. If you've got the individual climate controls, they'll complain, but it should work. I mean, everybody wants the ability to open windows, but I would think if the system works, it's not necessary.
But there's also, like we talked about at the meeting, there's also like how far they can open. So if we're limited as to how much they can open or the height of what they can open, is it even worth having them open? Like that was part of the question that we had that we didn't have enough information on.
Like if you can't open the window all the way, they can like crawl out of it for whatever reason. I don't know why you would.
Right, if it can only open, like I said,
Yeah, they have
4
limiters, so you
inches.
can
4 inches
only
the
open
limit,
it 4
yeah.
inches.
Then like, is it
What's the
worth
point?
the spending the extra money to have windows that open 4 inches?
That's like a regulation. They can't open more than 4 inches.
I
Yeah,
think
that's a
it's
building
security,
code.
right?
If they're more than so much above grade and within certain distance off the floor, then you have to limit them to 4 inches.
Kids jumping
Right.
out.
But either way, I don't believe the plan is to have them swing open fully where you're gonna, say, hop out of it as a emergency window.
Right, no, they're not used for emergency.
They're not
windows.
used for emergency.
Do we have such thing as
Do we
emergency
ask
windows?
that to the-
We
do
used
ask
to
that
They're
to
before we
currently-
sprinklered our buildings.
police chief?
Right, it's currently not required by the code. Jack has mentioned
Each room has its own
potential
temperature
legislation
control.
for that, but
Yeah, I think within 2 degrees they can
Yeah, I don't know where
adjust
that's
individual rooms.
yeah.
Like there's a limit. They can't
Yeah,
just,
I think
Make
it's
it like
4.
60 degrees.
yeah,
You said for 68, you can go down to 66 or
up to 70. So they do have some
4 degrees.
plus or minus 2 degrees to make their room
Yeah.
comfortable.
There is that perception of being able to further control the environment of opening
Without-
windows.
Without really being able to control, I guess.
That's what I wanted
But-
to ask.
but-
is how much, if somebody accidentally leaves a couple of windows open or a window open over the weekend, and we get a nasty, humid weekend or whatever, and then they come into the classroom, it's going to be affected. Their room's going to be affected. The system's not going to overrun what's happening with the air coming
And if
in
the
through.
system
That's
goes
what I'm
into
wondering.
unoccupied mode, it's
Yeah,
even
Right.
worse.
so it depends on the mode.
But my experience has been I've had back in my school district days, had somebody in the winter
Yeah.
open their windows for ventilation, and the custodians didn't close them over the winter, and we froze a sprinkler.
Right, see, that's my concern about having operable windows, things like that. When we have a system that will regulate the temperature inside the building.
Ken, do you have
when we need
a
it.
opinion, theory, comment?
I
I'm
agree
curious.
with you. Let's keep them fixed.
And a lot of buildings these days are fixed because of the HVAC systems.
The last time I had an operable window was for a dorm, And the only reason we had that was it was required per the new energy code. We had to have some operable windows
Huh.
for in a residence.
Don't forget, you
Oh,
see a lot
'cause
of
it's
operable
residential.
windows in buildings that are built without air conditioning.
Yeah.
So it's a different era.
So buildings are so tight now.
Right.
If you leave a window open, it's like you're asking for mold.
That's
Yeah.
the other thing.
And if you have operable, are you required to then have screening?
Yeah,
Mhm.
you want to put screens in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
$4.
I think if the rooms have individual controls, let's make them fixed. That if someone wants to go outside, that's why we have this
The outdoor learning
beautiful
classrooms.
courtyard.
Yeah.
We-
Yeah.
Outdoor
That's why
learning.
we have that.
Are there safety concerns with not having students be able to get through the windows?
Egress.
Well, you wouldn't be able to
Emergency.
open
They
them
can't
full.
be
on the
open
second
enough to
floors
get out anyway.
You have a door.
Once the state mandated that all schools be sprinklered, they took away the code requirement for
Not thinking about
for egress
fires.
windows.
Right, you're talking about like a shooter situation or something.
Yeah.
Like the bus has, right? The roof of the bus you can pop open if the bus
Yeah,
was
they-
flipped over.
Yeah,
They
I'm
make
just,
windows
I
where
just
you
want to
have
ask
an
the
emergency,
question.
kind of like a,
We have them now in middle school. I have one that I could kick out if I had
right,
to.
that you have a window that you can
Yeah.
actually move
So is that?
for an emergency.
There has been talk at the legislature, I don't know where the bill stands, whether it survived committee review or not, but someone was asking to require for future projects, after a certain date, if a grant was given after X date, then all classrooms would have to have some sort of escape window. Then the question is, well, if I've got a 2-story building, what do I do with the second story? And do I now have to give safety ladders that you roll out the window, or is it, if you're on the second floor, you don't have one? I don't know where that was headed. I don't know who the proponent was to know what the background was.
Sell those things in Sky Mall. It just rolls up.
So would we say in general, we would prefer fixed windows, but if after the safety review with the police chief and everyone else that's part of that review, if that's a component that they think is important for safety, then we may consider putting them back?
But
I don't
mean,
know
but
they
they
don't
don't
know
have
that-
an
but I don't know
operable-
they,
that-
only, they don't open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd
open
still have a
enough to
limiter
get in or
on
out.
it.
Right.
I don't know that the windows that you have designed into this building right now would
Would
accommodate.
accommodate it. Okay.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
make them
the
like
whole
a certain
the whole
size
configuration
so that
is,
guy with a pack can get through it. And
Yeah,
Right, and
then
on the flip side, if it's open, you'd also don't want it big enough so someone can come in.
Right.
So,
Or
right? You
So
take-
we're saying you
and
can't
we
have
have the
kick-out
windows
windows?
treated
Yeah, I guess
as
that would be
well.
like the kick-out window.
Yeah.
Right.
You can or you can't have a kick-out
right now, the
window?
building isn't designed to do that. So
Right.
that
To have
would
a
be,
kick-out window.
that would be an element of the project that would need to be rethought.
Right, and then the first floor windows all have laminated glass for security purposes as well, so you wouldn't be kicking that out at all. 'Cause-
And I thought the rule of thumb was shelter in place because you don't know there could be a threat
Outside, too.
outside that you don't know. So
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, that's what
We're
I was
supposed to
asking, how
enhance
the
all our
police chief
security.
looked at it.
You're supposed to enhance all our security features anyways, so that.
So
that
you're
situation
saying that
happens.
every classroom today has a window that can be taken out and removed?
I don't know about every class, but most of the regular classes in middle school do, yeah.
it was built in '54.
Yeah.
Let's
But
just
our
remember
windows
that.
Well, I assume they've changed the windows in 77 years.
Really? Really?
Yeah, I don't think in 1954 they put in windows that you could jump out, that you can remove the window completely, did they? I mean, was that
Did you take our tour?
Korean War, like?
they were worried more about fire than somebody shooting at the
Oh,
school.
because
Right.
that was for fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like those.
Right, it probably wasn't sprinklered, so you
No.
I
needed
see.
an
Oh.
egress
There
then.
aren't that many sprinklers in this room. There's supposed to be 4.
No, there's a lot. They're
I'm
between
definitely
the-
comfortable with
here.
what I know the plans have been reviewed by our security team and you're continuing with those meetings. Like, that's definitely where I would put, I want that decision to come from. I just wanted to make sure it was brought up and thought about.
Yeah, I can definitely bring it to that meeting.
Thank you.
Heather, how are we
Okay.
scheduling that meeting? Who do we have to schedule that meeting through?
The police?
Tony, right?
Chief of police?
Yeah. Does that have to
Talk
go
about the
through Tony, or
security?
can we reach out
Yeah.
to her to the chief
I
directly?
think it's a police matter, right? Security.
I would think so. Can I reach out to Chief?
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that first
Okay.
thing tomorrow
'Cause I
morning.
think Dr. Macri should be involved with that, and school administration as well.
Yep.
Security meeting?
Yeah.
Principal, etc.
All right, moving right along. So we're gonna hold off on the. Or so what do we? What?
So that one will table.
That
Yeah, we
would
just
stay,
need more
that would stay
information.
pending.
Yeah. All right. What else? FRP. What's FRP?
Fiberglass reinforced plastic.
So
So-
like those plastic walls
Said lumpy plastic
Okay.
Yeah.
sheets.
instead of tile?
Instead of tile, right? So the tile is currently designed because it was a former value management. It's only on the wet wall, so where the sinks and toilets are. It was originally designed to go up to the ceiling, and then it got EM down to 7 feet, which is the height of the toilet partitions. So this was, oops, wrong button. This was rejected. It's a minimal cost. It's a less.
You don't think kids would pluck those tiles off? Didn't we
Wait,
go somewhere
I-
where they pluck the tiles off?
Yeah, but this is much higher. That one was only at like 4 feet. I think at 7 feet,
It'd be hard
I
for them
think,
to
I
pluck
think,
it.
I
it'll
think
be-
it's good like that. 7
it'll be
feet,
hard
yeah.
for them to get, and I think enough leverage to.
Yeah, four
Hopefully.
foot tile, you get it where it's straddling all the toilet accessories,
Yeah.
and then there's spots where you can
You've got to jump
rip it
on
out. And
You got to bulldoze on the top tile.
Yeah.
You have nothing to grab onto. You're not gonna.
Yeah,
think
I
it's
think
It's funny
fun.
with
I think
have
it
those
was North
conversations.
North Haven perhaps that they told us make sure you tile up high enough.
High enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't
Yeah,
go
because when
lower
you
than
walked
7.
in, it was
Yeah.
only
So
like
it's that seven.
Right
it wasn't
there.
even shoulder height. I
Yeah.
feel like around that corner,
Yeah.
and they had ripped it all down.
The reason we rejected FRP is it just looks too industrial in a public bathroom.
Yeah.
It's more for the back rooms and things like that.
All right, so media center, folding glass partition to an opaque partition.
What's that? What's the partition between?
It's this one right here
Oh yeah, between the media center. and
between the media center and robotics. So
Mhm.
it was designed as the glass or visual connection to make this feel more like a one center,
Mm.
and then operable to open up the space to each other.
We just felt that if it's open, the partition's going to be open, and if it's closed, it's because you need a separate space, and that you don't want the distraction of
Yeah.
being able to see both sides.
I
The,
can see
the
that being distracting.
opaque one's probably more sound resistant, soundproof.
It's easier to get more manufacturers that meets that. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The VM suggestion was to go to wood. When I reviewed this with the design team, they suggested, can we look at other materials like a tackable surface or, so I don't know how you feel about wood versus tackable or some other surface,
It's tackable.
like a tack board, so you could tack into
Oh.
it.
Bulletin board material on the
Yeah.
surface.
Hmm.
Is that going to
Sure.
get beat up?
Hmm.
Is that going to get beat up after?
Oh yeah.
Or even a whiteboard material where you
Yeah,
have another
whiteboard,
writing
we've done
service.
Whiteboard would be
whiteboard
good.
before.
Mhm.
I think.
All right, so I'll have them look at.
But it would still be something that's, swings open and allows for passage?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still,
Still
whatever final material the surface is, you're still moving away from glass and saving some dollars.
How wide is that opening?
12, 14 feet.
Yeah, it's probably about 12 feet, give
Okay,
or take.
so it's not just a little door.
Yeah. There is a little door here that connects robotics with coding. Those are, I think they move from those spaces a lot, so it's a door with a side light.
Okay.
Can it be a pocket door, or is it probably more expensive?
Configuration. yeah.
It's tough to configure. It's also tough to make it accessible long term, and maintenance on
Yeah,
pocket
they
doors.
fall off the tracks.
Pocket
Yeah.
doors are a nightmare.
Or maybe not pocket, like a barn door where it's on the track on the wheels and it's a whiteboard, like you said, so you can have the whiteboard and you just slide it over.
Yeah, so this one it's tough.
It's gonna hit the wall.
Oh,
There's
that
not
it's right in
much.
the middle.
Yeah, I guess it could shift to one side or the other, but
So right now they're just swinging doors.
Or like accordions.
yeah,
Swing-
it's just it's panels and they would fold
Oh,
up against the
accordion.
wall.
I like it in the middle with the panel.
And just a swinging door into the coding room with a,
Right.
Yeah.
with a side light.
Yeah, this one is just a typical door. All right. Auditorium ceiling clouds. So currently, as designed, they're gypboard. So that material here. value management suggestions go to wood. So this is something we need to study what that would look like, and so the savings would be 37. It's down to 37,000 because part of the other value management was there was a note that slipped into the set that the roof deck was acoustical, which is not. It will just be a regular roof deck because we want that ceiling to be reflective, not absorptive. So if that's something that the committee wants to see, it would be a $37,000 savings to go from gyp to wood.
What's the benefit of wood, or what's the drawback?
It's just a different look.
$37,000.
And $37,000.
What looks better?
Well, we have. That's why we pended it, because we have no
Right.
we have no idea what it
We wanted to get some
visually
visuals.
looks
Yeah,
like.
would the wood be painted, or would it be, I don't know.
It could be
Natural.
One of the questions, Joe wants to run through with their acoustician is, can they get the same level of reflectivity with the gypboard? You can curve it, you can do a bunch of things to it.
Yeah, wood seems like
With the
you'd-
wood would be more of a prefab system that's
Yeah.
not as flexible design-wise.
Yeah, we currently have, there's arcs into that to get the right reflections into to reduce echo. So we could study that, maybe update that rendering, and then we'll check with Centec on the reflectivity of the wood versus chipboard. Reduce building millwork. This one was rejected, mainly to keep as much storage as you could get in the building, because schools are always challenged for storage space. Appliance purchase by FF&E was rejected, so we're keeping that in the construction number instead of shifting. That was basically just shifting 91,000 from construction into the FF&E budget. So there was no actual savings there. It just was moving it from one pot to the
Is
other.
that going to take away from our FF&E though, big time?
No, that's actually going to keep your FF&E budget.
If we
Cool.
bought them out of FF&E, it would take a bite out of
It
that
would
budget.
take
Yes.
a bite out of the FF&E
Yeah.
though. So.
Right.
So we're keeping it
wasn't
in construction,
really a
so the
savings, it
FF&E
was just
budget will not be purchasing appliances for
Okay.
the self-contained classroom and
Be-
other
better to have
areas.
them control it so they can coordinate it with the millwork and everything that's around it.
Right,
Yeah.
that too.
Good point.
Gym floor edge cut versus flat cut was rejected. We don't recommend doing that with the gym floor for 31,000. We feel it's a better product to be edge cut.
It's hardwood, right?
Yes. LVT versus VCT was rejected. This was throughout, so it was $122,000 savings, but there will be more maintenance with the VCT
Can
on
you
the back
explain
end.
what that means?
So LVT is luxury vinyl tile versus vinyl composite tile. So vinyl composite tile is the 12 by 12 squares. It requires maintenance, waxing, and upkeep every year, versus the LVT. And the LVT gives you a lot more design options in the
It's
books.
more porous, though, isn't it? The LVT, like you can stain.
I'm not sure on that.
There's different
Yeah.
levels of quality.
The one school we went to, Middletown, had an issue with their LVT because of the rolling chairs
Right.
and the grinding
Mm.
You
of
just have to be careful with what
stuff.
we're combining it with.
into the floors. But if we don't have rolling chairs,
Right.
What did North Haven have kind of like in the lobby area outside of the auditorium? Does anyone remember? Were you on that tour, John?
I don't think I went to North
Or
Haven.
not, sorry, not North Haven, North Branford,
Yeah.
or the Branford one.
they had the big, like,
Those
36 by
Oh, and,
12 or
Those looked
36 by
really nice,
24
yeah.
tile.
That would probably be porcelain tile then. if it's
Yeah,
36
they
by
were
36.
the huge.
Yeah.
Those
Tile.
were porcelain tiles, so that wasn't LVT. I'm
No,
trying to,
no,
like,
that wasn't.
I'm trying to get like
looks like it's painted on.
I'm
was
trying
like
to get a
imported
picture
from
of what
Italy or
LVT
something.
is.
Some LVT can look like a faux wood.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of it can look like real wood.
They put wood grain, you can do different patterns with it.
It's not
Yeah,
all
you
of it
can
looks like
watch.
wood. Some of it has like a texture in it.
Okay.
I'm sure you've seen it.
Like the Whisk cafeteria, like those sparkly tiles they have.
No, I don't think so. The sizes they're more like planks. They're not
Mhm.
12 by 12.
Where was that? What area are we talking about for this?
Pretty
Everywhere.
much everywhere except for Main Street. So Main Street right now is ceramic tile. I'm not sorry, porcelain tile. But the corridors, all the classroom spaces would be the LVT.
Okay.
Office spaces are carpet. Gym is wood. Auditorium's a mix. Stage is wood.
Mix of what?
Carpet, I believe, and we had polished concrete. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Carpet, just like on the aisleways, or like the walking paths,
Yeah.
and polished concrete where the chairs are.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Solid surface to plastic laminate. This is for both these two numbers. One was for countertops and one was for sills. I forget which one was which. So we don't recommend using plastic laminate if you could avoid it. It's less durable. The solid surface will hold up longer, especially in a middle school. Main Street porcelain tile to polished concrete was rejected. Again, we felt this wouldn't really match the aesthetic that you're looking for, and we feel it's more industrial looking, potentially. But we're gonna actually look to see if epoxy terrazzo could be an affordable option in lieu of the porcelain tile. So Newfield's looking into that. If it is, that would be a great option as well for a material. The toilet room, this is for the flooring, mosaic tile, so the 1x1 tiles to epoxy resin. This was accepted. It's only $21,000 savings, but it's less maintenance, and it's over the long term with the grout being more porous and getting dirty. So this one was accepted.
Epoxy resin looks good and it's durable.
Mm-hmm. And this includes the integral base with the epoxy coming up as well.
Yeah, that's nice. Right.
Yep.
That's nice.
All right, so value management. Oh, so DD value management. So reduced theater lighting was rejected, mainly because the program is very robust, and to reduce lighting right off the bat didn't make sense.
I have a question about that. When we have productions now, do we ever rent equipment?
Yes, everything is rented because the middle school has virtually no lighting of its own.
Okay.
Virtually
so
or
the goal
not?
here would be to have
It has house lights that go on and on.
So we're not going to rent anything, right?
That would be the goal.
Okay.
Copper feeders to aluminum feeders. So this is going to become. We said this is an alternate, or are we going to? Okay.
Well, I think we were leaving it as an alternate because we have no idea what that price will actually
right, we
be
didn't
when
know
it
at the
goes to
time of
bid.
bid.
Yeah.
That's
Because
right, yeah.
you've seen a flip in which is
Right,
cheaper.
because everybody's
so.
taking this alternate and supply chain issues. Okay, so
You
that's
need
good. So
more-
this is actually going to shift into the next page.
So really, like, you're gonna go with whatever's cheaper, copper, aluminum.
Y- Yeah. Yeah.
The base bid will be copper, and the alternate will, we think it's gonna be a deduct alternate for aluminum.
What's the drawback for using aluminum?
You need to have larger conduit sizes, and some engineers say it loosens up, it requires maintenance, but I think a lot of those issues have been resolved over the years. The engineer's on board with, we have the same engineer on other school projects, and we've done it multiple times. Sometimes it can be a substantial savings, like we're projecting here 200,000. Depending on what happens to the price of copper between now and bid day, and the price of aluminum, you never know these days. So
Yeah.
that's why we're leaving it as an
If
alternate.
everyone's jumping to aluminum, that shoots aluminum costs up, right?
So if on bid day it's a $10,000 savings, we probably won't take the savings because of the possible downstream maintenance of
Mhm.
retightening
If
lugs and
it's
things
close,
like
we
that.
just stay with copper.
Stay with copper.
Delete lightning protection. So that was pending. If
The town.
We did get
wanted.
information back from the town manager on 2 items. We asked about the bidirectional antenna, which is basically like a radio repeater inside the building, so emergency services have a better signal inside the building. He said, yes, the police department will require that.
Okay.
He said the lightning protection is a coin toss. It is not an insurance savings. And I believe previous conversations with the committee here, nobody could remember other buildings having lightning rods. So if we delete the lightning protection from the base bid, it buys us the bidirectional antenna system. So it becomes a wash.
Do we have to worry about the height of this building? And do we
Your trees around you are taller than the building.
the trees around here will be after we take the trees down?
You will, you will still have trees, you know, in the park
Like the baseball field trees in the park.
that are taller than the building. But hearing that other buildings in town have not had them, and it's not an insurance savings, it is not, I can tell you the last time I put a lightning protection system on a building, it was because the building was being renovated and the original building had it, otherwise the renovation would not have had it. And that was close to 10 years ago.
I don't have a
So-
strong desire for it.
So this building itself, this Cromwell High School doesn't have lightning protection, I don't think. We have trees around it, and knock on wood, there's never been an issue in 40-some odd years, so.
So the response we got back is it's, you know, the building committee's call whether to put it on or not. But the BDA system, you know, the antenna system for emergency services is required.
So did you guys talk about this ever?
No, because we were
Yeah,
waiting
we
to
didn't
see if it was a town requirement. I think
Okay.
the census is, if it's not here now,
We don't need it.
we shouldn't
Right.
need it unless the town required it.
Okay.
It could be added after, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with taking it out.
So that would become.
That's 107,000?
Accept.
Yep.
Yeah, I would accept that.
That's a lot.
But then we gotta add the.
And the BDA, there's really, it's kind of a spread of prices. If you want it, you put it in where all the other systems are going in. If you don't know whether you're gonna need it or not, you build the building first, then you do a signal study, and then you basically retrofit the building to add it, which adds cost. So the number, I think, what was it, 95,000 or 90,000?
94,000.
94,000 would likely cost us a bit less than that because we're gonna do it on purpose in the stream of all the other work rather than doing it after the fact. So-
We should definitely have that.
Yeah, that, he said the police department is requiring that.
Okay.
So we'll
So we could eliminate that as an alternate and just bake it into the design.
make that base
Yep.
bid, yes. Yep.
The last one on this list, these have already been deleted. They're not required. They were shown in the science classrooms and talking with CES. They're not required.
Those are the panels above the windows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Alternates. So,
Do we have to vote on that?
oh, sorry.
It's not a complete list yet.
A lot of it's pending.
Yeah, I'd wait. Unless we want to vote on the changes you made today.
Maybe we should at least vote on the things that are rejected or accepted, just to make sure that everyone has a clear path forward.
Okay. So, what did we change on this list? Let's start there.
Nothing on this list.
Yeah, I don't
No,
think
I
we
don't
discussed
think
That's the
anything to
building
change.
interior and building exterior items.
Yeah, that one's fine. Then-
Or were we saying the ceiling clouds to the wood? Was there?
That's still
Are we still
pending.
looking
That
into
was
that?
still pending.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's still
pending.
pending.
Okay.
So that
That's-
includes-
That's
Yeah,
still
so that's all
pending.
the same.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so the only difference would be on the next page where we were accepting
Lightning.
the
Lightning.
lightning
Accepted.
protection.
Okay.
I make a motion to move forward with the value management options as listed on here. Make an update to delete lightning protection from pending to accepted, and keep all pending as pending.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Motion passes.
All right. Alternates. So the amphitheater is still an alternate.
Mhm.
Baseball field irrigation system is an alternate. That is sort of protection of if it's needed to be upgraded to meet the new system. Right now, that field is essentially existing to remain. There is some minor utility work along the property line to get the new utilities to the site. and not sure what this state of this system is, if it needs to be upgraded or not. So that's why it's listed as an
So
alternate.
when we say add, it's not beyond what we went to referendum for, is it? It's not increasing our budget. Like we had we included all these as part of that budget number, right?
I believe so. Tom.
No, I don't think
I
if it
don't
was an
believe
ad
we did.
alternate, it wouldn't be.
But again, offsetting with other value management efforts that you're making. You know, if in fact you find you have to do it, that $100,000, you might be saving that much less in the grand scheme of things. And
So
that's,
I'm surprised about the irrigation system because town manager made it clear he wanted it included.
So it's included for the new fields.
Yeah, he wanted to include it for the baseball field too.
again, technically speaking, we're not touching the baseball field.
Or
So-
touching the system that leads to it.
We are running new water from the new building to the existing system so that it can be re-energized. So we're giving them back the capability that they have today.
Mm.
The
We're
reason
not, like,
we're
changing
building a
them.
softball field is that we need it as laydown space, and we're gonna wreck what's there.
Mm.
Otherwise, we're not touching the baseball field.
So when
this-
you're saying irrigation system on this list, it's talking about actually changing it at the baseball field, like changing the heads and all that stuff.
Correct.
Okay.
If needed, hopefully not.
But we'll run the
So
water to it.
We'll already
up
have
to
a
the system.
contractor on site. This is the best way of capturing the best price is by having them do all of it if this
Mhm.
piece has to be done.
Okay.
Delete bus canopy, that was rejected.
Yeah.
And then this will go from an alternate to accepted.
And then this is the list where we would discuss adding the batting cages in the
Correct.
gymnasium.
Yeah, I missed that in the list as an alternate.
Can we also add an alternate for the turf field, just so we have a number to it to provide to the town? As an ad alternate.
For the soccer field.
Is that still coming up?
Well,
That's I mean, you'd have to
preemptively,
give us
let's-
another cross-section for that.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
an
that-
easy
that-
alternate.
that-
It's not
that's
that
an-
easy
Is
of an
that
alternate.
reimbursable?
That it is
No,
not
it's not.
reimbursable, but if we bid the base as grass and the turf as an alternate, then we know what the upcharge is. The upcharge would be ineligible for state reimbursement, but
Mhm.
at least we get the general earthwork done, which is
Mhm.
gonna be required regardless of which field we do. That's a bit of work in order to detail that and, design it so that it can be priced. It's not quite as simple as I got so many square feet of this floor, I substitute it with the other floor materials.
So it's a different base design, you're saying?
So there's drainage involved, there's, the actual cross-section of the field is gonna be different, because we're building it with drainable materials, not soil.
So we're not gonna have
plant
drainable
grass on.
materials with the grass field? Because that's a big issue with our town right now is the
Well, you have
drainability.
good quality soils, that's like we talked about with the detention basin.
Mm,
So water soaks in pretty well with the soil that you have here on site.
But
So you probably would not need a piped drainage system underneath a grass
I
field.
don't think that's the experience we have with our fields right now. Like the existing fields today don't have good drainage.
I don't think they're crowned very well either. They're
But is that an issue at the, it's definitely an issue at WIS, but not
Not so much.
not so much at the
It's
middle
not?
school?
No, only when it really pours. When it's really soggy.
I think we have
No,
good,
when Wiss used to have thick.
If it were a concern, then you could design your grass field with the under drains and make sure that it's going to drain, and then have the alternate for the surface basically, so that basically either field you get, you would have the drainage as part of the base bid and eligible,
Mm-hmm.
and it would just be the difference in surface from soil to and grass to gravel and rug.
I just feel like we need to have good drainage because if we don't, oh my god.
And that's
We'll never
a
hear
little
that
bit
of it.
different tack
Well,
than
right now, there's no
Rick
under
Sagan
drains
has
in
taken
the
so far.
design. There are not under drains in the existing design right now.
But with the existing design, we're not designing a concave field nor would it be flat, right? You
Right.
have to
You have
actually
a
Has a
crown.
have
little bit of a
have a
crown.
crown on the surface. Okay.
Minor, because soccer
Yeah.
doesn't like too much of a crown.
Right. Right, but drainage shouldn't be as much of an issue in that.
if
In
it's
that
not
case,
now, and we're
today
using
it's
the
pretty
same
flat.
soil.
Correct. I mean, I think the
Yeah.
Woodside problem is that
Oh, it's just everything, yeah.
It all
Down a
comes
hill.
off of that hill.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
How
the
are we
hill.
using the same soil? Aren't we gonna have to? Well, we gotta rip up. The new soccer field's going where the current building is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the building has a foundation that goes down.
Yep, which will be removed.
Right. So don't you have to bring in soil, or just kind of grade it from the
They
current?
believe the plan, the cut fill plan, we're actually going to be reviewing this tomorrow, is that the site is mostly balanced.
Oh, okay.
So that where you're cutting here, you're filling there. So that,
They'll stockpile what they
Mhm.
take out from one area.
Oh, okay. Oh,
They'll
Then
just
okay.
move it aside and then put it back.
Okay.
So I guess, Rosanna, then I don't. I'm gonna defer to you. I feel like we should have a number. So
So
that
last time we brought this to the town, they asked for like when would they need to make a decision for that, and we said, oh, you got time because we're not going to be putting field until the end.
No, no. You
I-
need it designed now so that it can be priced and it can be bid.
Does it need to be part of the site plan as an alternate?
Well, they're
As
gonna-
far as zoning is concerned, a field is a field. I don't think that they're gonna have concerns about that. If we're draining the field, that might change some of our calcs.
right.
Granted, any water that hits the field is gonna run off, in theory, run off the field or soak in today. And if we're piping it somewhere, that may change the math as far as the drainage system is concerned.
There's a committee in town who's looking at all the sports fields, right?
Not ours though, except for ours.
Just the high school.
just the high school.
That's
Or
all
And-
I feel.
so are they looking at the middle school baseball field? Because that's not in our scope.
No,
Are they
but
look-
Enza. I thought Enza was doing something with the irrigation on here at CMS.
But then they were told to group it with this project because we would get the reimbursement.
But we won't get reimbursement.
Oh, this hurts my head. All right, I guess we'll have to table that and have a discussion with the town
Quickly.
at the town council meeting next week and just say like, this has come up, well, we need to figure out what we're gonna do.
We want to get 67 million, right?
I know, it's, well, anything having to do with the turf field is out of this budget, it's out of scope. So the town would have to foot it. It'd been nice to have a number for them, like a ROM, saying it's gonna be roughly like 1.5 million, 1 million, like whatever it is, for the delta between the grass and assuming you'd have to add drainage and the design work and all that goes along with it.
I haven't bid one in this current bidding environment, but I think the last time we did a turf field, the spread between grass and turf was in the $1 million range.
Right.
So that's a reasonable talking point.
And I think because they're doing this study at the high school and building that new multi-purpose turf field there, they may not care about having one at the middle school anymore.
It seems more appropriate to have it at the high school than
Right.
at the middle
Yeah.
school.
Agreed.
So we may not have to worry about it. So I'd say for now it's probably not going to happen, but
I just wanted to make sure we did our due diligence and
Yeah.
presented to the town so
yeah.
they
If you can give me like a ROM number, even if it's saying like 1.23.
I can get back to you. We do have some historical data, but it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all pre-COVID.
it's all pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Well, we do have some pricing from Oakley though, because that's a synthetic deal.
Did we price? We didn't price that both ways. That was always turf.
No, we did.
You did?
Price it both ways because of OSCG.
Okay. Okay. That'd be valid.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful for the conversation.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Is there anything to vote on here before I move on?
Nothing's changed.
The addition of the
Oh.
the batting cages.
And the bidirectional amplifier
Gets
went
moved
from an add to a required
down.
Or approved.
or alternate to an approved.
To base
because we
bid.
have to have it.
Did we get a rough number on what the 2 batting cages would cost in the gym? No. Can't. So we know.
So are those, what is the scope for that? Is
I
it
thought
like
that was
a,
going to FF&E we talked about too.
We could possibly do it out of FF&E.
Or somewhere
It might
else.
be easier to coordinate if we did it with all the other gym equipment as an
Yeah.
alternate.
request come from?
Me.
Warren?
Yeah.
Put it on the website.
We missed, yeah, it just adds more flexibility to getting baseball started earlier in the bad weather. We could rent them out to other entities. It cuts down on damage in the gym when we start playing ball. So I just thought there was good reasons to put them back in.
We'll figure out the
Ken
cost
did
of it.
as
Are those like nets that raise up, or
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've actually
Yeah.
never done one.
Yeah.
But then you have to like, also it's the kinematics and the electrical, all that stuff, the wiring that goes along with it, right? It's not just,
Right. That-
it's not just the nets by themselves.
That's why it's easier to do as
Do
part of the building
construction.
package than
That's true.
Yeah.
FF&E.
Benefit, yeah.
Okay, so I guess we're voting on this list with the changes of removing the bidirectional amplifier from alternate to required, adding a line item for the batting cages, internal batting cages. What was the second one? Is that it? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve that.
So much.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes.
Okay, so schedule. So this is our kind of 10,000 foot schedule. Tom has a much more detailed one, but our first week of June, we have about 8 weeks left till we're going to be issuing construction documents. Then we'll go into the document review and approval stage, which will be third party or local review. And then OSCGNR, and then it'll go into bidding once they approve. And then
Sorry, can we go back to doc reviews and approvals? What do you mean by third party and local?
so the state requires that our documents get reviewed by the local officials, which
Okay.
would be the building inspector, fire marshal, 504 accessibility officer, and the health inspector. They have the right of refusal if they don't have time or don't want to do it, and it would go to a third party reviewer.
Oh, okay.
So I know Jack would talk about that a little bit more later, I'm assuming.
Thank you.
And then they review the documents and get comments back. We have to respond to those comments, and then that record goes to OSCGNR. So it's a code review.
Got it.
Do we have to do a threshold review for structure?
Yes.
We do, yes.
So that also occurs in that period as well. Oops, wrong button. So then once the state approves us around, I think the PCR is anticipated for the end of September. Then it would go into bidding and GMP approval through the fall, and anticipated start of construction would be the first week of January. I don't know if Tom, if I should go through the rest of my stuff, or if we want to switch.
Do you want to switch to the more detailed schedule now, or?
Probably is appropriate. You break it down.
Is that, can you click to that?
I can't. You'd have to switch from the PowerPoint to, I guess, it's a PDF.
Oh, okay.
So did we get bumped out three
Can we
months
take, like,
then?
a
Yeah,
3-minute
that's
recess?
correct.
2 months.
I thought
Yeah.
it was 2 months. I thought we were starting on October 1st for construction, and then 2 months would have put us to December. Now we're saying January 1st.
Let's take a 3-minute break, 4-minute bio break.
Sure.
You didn't get another text from last week.
Yeah, I got the text from last day. Everybody's working. We are up to 69,000. I don't know why. I was like, why did it go up? He goes, I don't know. Don't argue.
just that, our original schedule that we had been operating on, yeah, my mic's on, yeah, for prior to the pause was an October 1st construction of the building start date. And then we talked about bump it out 2 months with the 2-month pause. And I just want to just be clear, like it actually ends up being maybe effectively a 3-month bump out if we're starting in January.
Yeah, I think Tom could clarify that based on the construction schedule. So what I
Yeah.
represented what was in this pre-construction schedule that we received from Newfield.
So I've been keeping a pre-construction schedule right along. I wasn't able to publish it because we could never nail down some of these dates. But I believe, and I can do a more in-depth analysis, but I believe the October start kind of slipped to November. And then, of course, we have the holiday season that we have to account for in this schedule because we're bidding and awarding like in December. And nobody mobilizes between Christmas and New Year's. I think we probably could get it back there, but nobody's going to mobilize till after the first of the year. So that's why it's the January start. But if we want to just take a look at this is a detailed schedule.
When did we when did we slip from October 1st to November 1st?
I think the comment is because of the pause, we slipped from October 1st to December 1st, and now the practicality of getting people to mobilize around the holidays
Okay.
is going to prevent us from mobilizing till
Yeah,
January.
that's
Until
part
January
of it.
1st.
Yes.
Yeah.
So while you're looking at that, one of the questions that was asked was, when will the fields be closed off? Like, when do you actually put up the fencing to designate the construction area? Does that happen before you go to bid, after you go to bid?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
When do you put up the barriers for the construction zone? Like, when do we close off the fields?
At the beginning of the project.
So it'd be in January?
Yes.
Okay. So they're just asking if they're going to have full usage of those fields through the fall season. I guess the answer is yes.
They will.
Okay.
So like I said, I've been keeping the schedule. So the schedule I did on February of 24th of 23 shows the October start. And then the next one I did a few days later shows the where we slipped to like the beginning of November. And I'd have to do a little more research here to tell you exactly which activities caused that. But right now, the way it's laid out with the construction documents, so we're getting the construction documents at the end of July. That's this activity right here. So based on that, if you go forward from there, none of the durations have really changed. Maybe a little bit of on the approvals because that's a little hard to figure out with the meetings and such. We need 5 weeks for bidding. That hasn't changed. I really didn't change Perkins Eastman's design time other than the pause. So they have pretty much the same amount of time to do the CDs. Just there's a few weeks in there for remobilization that we lost, other than the pause period. So if you look at this, where are we? We got construction document. This is sort of by start date, so it's a lot of these activities are already done. Construction documents, July 31st. Then we go right into our estimates.
Top page 2.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, yeah, this is all done. There's some of the approvals are here. Here's our value management evaluation, which we just did. The DDR meeting is actually, this is going to be an update meeting that occurs tomorrow. We've actually already done a DDR meeting. So we're going to update OSCG with the new referendum value, and also we're proposing an early bid packages to get some long lead items purchased. Some of this stuff is just the deep discharge permit application, bid document development. These are all items that have to be done before we can go to bid. So I guess I go to the next page with this. Okay. Here's some of those activities we talked about, the third party code review, and threshold review, which is also a third-party review. Jack's going to get into that a little more. CD estimate, right after the documents are done. Then we reconcile the estimate. Local officials sign off. They have to sign forms that we bring to the final PCR meeting. And right now we have the PCR meeting scheduled for around middle of September. We have to, once they allow us, they approve us to bid, that usually takes about a week or so, because they always have comments that have to be addressed. A day or 2 or 5 days for adjusting the final documents, and we go out to bid in October. We allow 5 weeks for bidding with addendums, and then we have to scope out the contractors, so award recommendations and contractor evaluation, 3 weeks. Apply for the building permit. And then we have to prepare the GMP amendment. We come back for your approval on, December 8th. And then the town has to execute the document after this committee approves it. And then we finally award trade contractors around mid-December. And that's where it gets to the, another 2 or 3 weeks to mobilize. The contractors have to get their paperwork in place, their bonds and such. And we mobilize after the first of the year.
We don't need to go through the town for subcontractors, right, Jack?
No, Newfield will bid the projects. The town helps us get it posted on the state's website, and we follow any other bid posting requirements that the town has. The bids will come in addressed to Newfield. They will compile everything. We'll do scope reviews, compile recommendations for award, bring the recommendation back to this committee, and then ultimately, I think the way your structure works, it has to go to the town manager before it can be.
So the town manager
it can be
does have to
executed.
approve each of the subcontractors.
I don't know, not necessarily each of the subcontractors, because they work for Newfield and Newfield is at risk. What the town manager signs off on is the contract amendment that compiles all of those subcontractors into a bottom line.
Okay.
It's all open book, so we know who the bidders were, we know who's being recommended for award. And, the rule is, unless somebody withdraws or is found deficient in their scope review, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder on each of these sub-packages is the company that Newfield will work with. And then you'll vote on the contract amendment, the guaranteed maximum price. And then ultimately, since the town manager signed their contract, he will also sign off on the amendment.
Okay, so what you haven't seen before is this early procurement packages. As part of the pre-construction effort, we investigate any long lead items. And right now, it looks like, well, it's definitely the electrical gear is a long lead item. Some of the larger mechanical equipment are long lead items. And we also want to put a small package in there to get a temp service in so that we can set our trailer up at the beginning of the project. So we want to get like a pad and maybe cut some trees. It won't impact the use of the school fields. We'll be off to the side. So we're proposing that, and that would start almost immediately. We're in touch with the engineers. They can have, documents to us somewhere around the Friday, June 23rd, thereabouts or before. We need approval from both this committee and the Board of Ed to go to the state with the final plans for every phase. So we're proposing a joint meeting. This is not, there's like 3 days in there because I don't know which days would work best, so that we could, the sole purpose would be to approve these documents to go to the state. They have to sign forms that allow us that allows the state to review the drawings.
What dates do you have in there right
phase.
now?
That's June 27th to June 29th.
With the Board of Ed.
With the Board of Ed, yes. Or you could meet separately. We just thought a joint meeting might be easier.
We don't have a meeting that week, right?
I don't believe so.
What's the PCR acronym again?
They don't need that.
Pre-bid conformance review. That's the state's
We'll
review
need
of
a
the document.
special joint meeting then.
So we have a June 30th PCR date with the state. That's been, Jack, that's penciled in for us. We just have to confirm it. And then we those usually don't take very long at all because they're not reviewing much. So we anticipate in 2 or 3 days we'd be allowed to bid. We have a short bidding period, and then again we'd go through the approval process starting in early August. And our goal is to get this material released somewhere, around mid-August, mid to late August, to get the material released.
This is just for the long lead items?
Yeah, the electrical panels right now, they're telling us the switchgear, the big stuff, is like 18 months out
Wow.
after you release it. So we need to do this. It's not something
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
is nice to have.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
The other thing I just wanted to mention is that we want to take all the advantages we can in pre-construction. So what we've done on similar projects is we'll buy like the detailing of the rebar, the reinforcing steel in the concrete. That's the first thing you need to start your foundations. If we can buy it from a draftsperson or from a detailer, and then those drawings would be ready to go. All the contractor would have to do would be to order the steel. He could order his reinforcing steel off of that set of drawings. Same thing with the structural steel. We like to buy the detailing in pre-construction, so that you cut out maybe 5 or 6 weeks out of the schedule to get your steel.
Okay.
And it gets a lot of the questions going. It's really helpful.
Is this going to be part of the discussion with the BOE? That has to get approved?
No, I think the only thing, Jack, we have to just is going to be probably an added service. Those two things will probably be an added service to
Right.
to Newfield or to.
There is, the cost of the detailer doing the work now rather than doing it through the contractor who's ultimately hired. So that is a service that someone will charge you for.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you pay for it directly, or pay through Newfield, through us, it doesn't really matter. But it is something that does save a good amount of time when the project is started. We found that we can get tighter bids on the steel as well, because there isn't a fudge factor that they have to put in for the type of adjustments they might make once the steel is actually detailed for fabrication. And in fact, I found on some projects, we've actually asked the steel contractor at the scope review, by the way, what would it have cost through you, numbers that were not in your bid, for the effort to detail this as part of your contract versus us having done it ahead of time. And some contractors have said the number that they would have charged us was actually more than what we ended up paying to do it ahead of time. And it made their bid tighter.
Okay.
So we've had experiences where the structural steel is sitting on a trailer waiting for the concrete to cure. It's there even before we're ready for it. So we should be so lucky this time. But we have found it to be advantageous.
Okay.
And we'll recommend it.
Is that something we need to vote on right now?
We'll get some
No.
proposals, or Tom will get some proposals in order to put a price tag to that.
Okay,
So
thank you.
it will be something that we'll get into at the very later stages of the construction documents. If we're going to be done the end of July, I'd say by mid to late June, we'd want to know who we're working with on this,
Okay.
and then try to get basically the final version of the steel from Perkins' team in order to get the details started, and then make that a component of the bid set. Sometimes it's not available, by the time we go up to the state for plan review, so we make it an addendum, so it's all part of what contractors see on bid day anyway.
Okay. All right.
So we need to vote on it by mid to late June?
We would need to choose somebody and get them started, yeah.
All right, so that's something, could we have that material for the next meeting in 2 weeks?
That'll be our goal, yes.
Yes. All right, that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we talk about the third-party structural reviewer?
Sure.
Do we have anybody on board for that?
We do not. Threshold review is kind of a funky concept. It is a component of the Connecticut Building Code. It says if a building has certain characteristics, if you are bigger than X square feet, if you are higher than so many stories, if you've got the potential to hold more than so many people in your building, any of those things triggers what's called a threshold review. It grew out of, some of you are probably too young to remember, L'Ambiance Plaza, project that collapsed in Bridgeport back in the 80s. And there were constraints put on certain types of building construction, and then these limits came in that says somebody other than the engineer of record needs to do kind of a peer review if you meet these, if you fall under any of these particular criteria. Since we have the capacity to hold more than 1,000 people,
I think it's 1,000.
in total population, whether it's, and not to say that we're going to have that many people, but in theory, if school is in session and there's something going on in the auditorium, we're definitely over 1,000 people under our roof. So that's the criteria that pushes the button for us. So we'll need somebody other than the engineer of record to do that review. It could be somebody that you hire through Perkins as another consultant. Most clients want it to be somebody other than the design team who's in charge of that consultant.
I think it
some-
has to be separate from us.
I know it can't be the engineer of record, but ideally it would be separate from the design team. You can hire directly, or you could, ask us to hire somebody.
When
as
do
a
we need to do
pass-through.
this by?
This is something that will happen concurrent with the estimate and whatnot as we gear up for the plan review with the state, because we need the final documents to do so.
So
Again, that's something that I would want to bring to you at the next meeting, or at the latest 2 meetings from now.
okay.
But just to give you a heads up that we will need this entity. The other review that was mentioned was, again, if the local building and fire don't have the capacity to do the plan review in time for us to get to the state, oftentimes they'll punt and ask us to have it done for us. We used to have a cadre of 4 to 6 consultants that would do that. Several of them have retired, and we're limited on who actually is in that business right now. And we can reach out. We've just done that on another project recently. So I know that with limited participants and with other projects on the street, or soon to be on the street, we've got limited capacity to find these people. So that's something that we're looking into now, is to see who would be available to do that in the time frame that we have.
Okay.
You can go direct, but then I think with the town's purchasing requirements, for a direct purchase, it might take longer than if we just shop prices and come back to you and treat it as an ad service.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So next meeting, then you're gonna come. One of the next 2 meetings, you're gonna come with.
Right, so we have three pieces: the steel detailing and the rebar detailing,
Mm-hmm.
the threshold review, and then we would need an answer from your code officials. We've had some towns say, "We'll do it. How many weeks have I got? I'll get it done," and they do everything in-house, which at that point, in essence, doubles as their permit review, so that once we get our approval on the documents from OSCG, and we know things aren't changing anymore, Newfield can file for the building permit. Sometimes they accept the third party's plan review as their permit review, or just do a spot check on that.
So what do you need us to do right now?
Tonight, nothing.
Okay.
Just bringing this to you for awareness that there are additional consultants that need to be brought into the mix.
Okay.
Is the committee gonna need to reach out to town to see if they can and will do it, or is?
Either I or Perkins will be in touch
Okay.
with the officials.
And is this something we're budgeted for?
We do have a line item in the budget for other professional services,
Okay.
so we're covered there.
Okay.
All right, Jack, you got 5 minutes to go through your stuff.
Before we, if I may,
Yeah.
do we need to approve, like a motion to approve Arcadis to move forward with getting pricing for the festival?
No,
I don't think we need to vote on that.
you don't need to tell me to get to work. Yeah, well, Thank you.
Yeah, the short version.
Short version, we got money.
Yay.
Referendum passed. Yay.
Yay.
Project cost adjustments, there were documents that I had used in our discussion with the town council that we found had a misallocation of some of the dollars. Our 72.6 is still the right bottom line, but as Emily and I were breaking the budgets down between central office and the school itself, there were some things that we had to divide the Red Sea a little bit differently. We did provide that revised split to OSCGR so that they could get into the funding bill. So $4,285,000 is now the revised budget for central office. And I'll read the piece of paper in front of me because it's too far away. $68,315,000 is now the allocation towards the high school.
What was it before?
It was
Okay, it's
55, 933 originally.
It's probably in here somewhere.
Okay.
It's on
It's on,
third page, fourth page,
On the-
sixth, seventh page.
this isn't doing what I thought
Basically,
it was gonna
13
do.
million went to the building, school building, and $1 million went to the.
Yeah, I've got glare there,
Ish.
so. This is our expended to date, which in the last couple of months has been very little. I think the only invoice that you've seen since the shutdown was for March services that were already performed, and tonight you have one from us for the estimate, which we never got around to billing for. We have an owner contingency tally, which basically says nothing's moved since the last time. Central admin, as I said, the budget has been revised to reflect our current grant value, which included construction cost increases and increases to the owner's contingency that you approved. So we have, as noted there, $4,285,000 is our new face value of the project. $4,014,000 and so has not been committed yet. And for invoices for approval, we have a single invoice tonight for the design development estimate that was part of our fixed fee. Total value is $15,300. $14,580 goes to the middle school budget. $720 goes towards the central admin budget.
So this is just for Arcadis, right?
That was the only invoice we received at this
So a
period.
total of $15,300.
Correct.
Okay. So let's pause and take an action to approve the invoice from Arcadis for the $720 to go for the central office and $14,580 for the middle school for work conducted at the end of May.
Second. Or I'll make a motion.
Thank you. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
That's it.
That's it?
There's additional information in the hard copies that I gave you with the actual budget breakdowns. We were waiting on that until we got confirmation of the reimbursement rate before Emily put those into final form. So you have hard copies. They did not make the slideshow.
Okay. And the numbers in the budget now kind of reflect what was in the estimate, right?
Yes.
Like we put them in the right buckets.
Everything from the estimate has now been diced and sliced between the two projects.
Okay.
A slight shift in dollars towards central administration from what you saw at the town council meeting.
And we did not impact FF&E
No, you did not.
because we said it was enough.
You did not decrease. I don't believe we increased. I think the shift was strictly in the construction value
Construction, yeah.
and owner's contingency value.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Jack?
I just have a general question. We had approved the expenditure for Perkins Eastman to do the design for the Reno that we
Oh,
thought
yeah.
we were going to need for the
We're
state.
canceling that? Did you do any work on that? I mean, you just mobilized Monday, right?
We did some work on that. Yeah.
Okay.
I've actually been mobilized since the referendum, but the team got fully mobilized this week. So
Okay, so we're gonna have to
some
update
work. Yeah.
the estimate for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna talk to Joe Costa about it and see what we're gonna do with that.
Okay. Let me know.
Be like a time and material type of thing?
It'd be a percentage of it potentially.
Yeah, like I can't approve the full 44,000,
It
but
wouldn't
whatever.
be anywhere close to that.
Yeah, I figured. So
Maybe a low percentage.
Yeah.
I figured. So whatever the new number is, I guess work with Emily to provide the. Anything else?
I just want to take a moment to recognize the design subcommittee. Thank you for going through and having the discussion on all those alternates. I think it made I know the conversation was still lengthy this evening, but I think it made it go much smoother, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, meeting adjourned at